Chapter 3447. These days, Lin Xian had gotten to know them better. These were Gu Santong's most loyal clansmen. Therefore, Lin Xian did not treat them as strangers. Seventh Elder said in a low voice. Young Master Lin had sharp eyes. Today was indeed a little different, because there were guests. Guests? Lin Xian paused. Were they here to look for Santong? That's right, they were here to look for the young master. You don't look too happy. Could it be that you're hiding something from me? Seventh Elder sighed and did not say anything. Instead, he brought Lin Xian and Lin Xian to a courtyard. The scenery was beautiful, but there were not many people. Lin Xian understood Seventh Elder's intentions when he arrived. There was no one in this courtyard, but there was someone in the courtyard opposite. From here, Lin Xian could clearly see what was going on in the courtyard opposite. At this moment, he saw Gu Santong sitting there with a dark expression. Gu Santong's aura was stronger than it had been a month ago. Obviously, the martial arts exchange had been of great help to Gu Santong. This should have been something to be happy about, but Gu Santong did not seem happy at all. Instead, there was an extremely solemn expression on his face. This made Lin Xian realize that things were not so simple. Who was it? Who could give Gu Santong so much pressure? Not far from Gu Santong sat a middle-aged man. That middle-aged man was tall and slender, with a hooked nose and a cold expression on his face. They seemed to be discussing something. Lin Xian's soul was very strong, so he could instantly hear what they were talking about. However, from the looks of it, the conversation between the two of them was basically coming to an end, so Lin Xian only heard a few sentences. Young Master Gu, this is not something you can resist. Therefore, I advise you not to resist. Gu Santong sat there without a word. At this moment, the middle-aged man spoke again. I have conveyed your message. I hope young Master Gu will not be late. Having said that, he stood up and strode away. It seemed that he did not care about Gu Santong at all. Lin Xian watched the entire process. However, that middle-aged man was completely unaware that someone was inspecting him. After the middle-aged man left, Gu Santong's body emitted an extremely terrifying aura, and the void around him fluctuated rapidly. It was clear that he was furious. When Lin Xian saw this scene, he took a deep breath and said to Fantasy, Fantasy, you go back first. I'll go talk to him myself. As he spoke, he walked toward the courtyard. Brother Lin, you're back. Originally, Gu Santong's aura was very frightening. It was as if his entire body had merged into the void, becoming extremely frightening. He was originally a genius disciple of the Gu clan, and cultivated the Great Void technique, created by the Void Emperor. This was a spatial technique. It was extremely terrifying. When he sensed the figure before him, he walked out of the void, and the power of the void around him disappeared quickly. Who was that person just now? Was there any conflict between you two? Lin Xian asked. Gu Santong was stunned. You heard everything? Lin Xian said. I heard a little, but I don't know the details. If you trust me, you can tell me. I might have a way to help you. Gu Santong smiled bitterly. Brother Lin, how can I not trust you? You saved my life. However, this matter was too difficult to talk about. Forget it. You'll know soon enough. I'll tell you. Next, Gu Santong gave a simple explanation. Lin Xian understood everything after hearing it, and then frowned. It turned out that Gu Santong had come to the Great Yin planet from the ancient Star Road. In order to gain a foothold on the Great Yin planet, their bloodline decided to form a marriage alliance with a very powerful clan. Gu Santong did not agree at first. However, because of him, the divine body not only suppressed him, but also their bloodline. Therefore, at this time, Gu Santong also decided to sacrifice himself to repay their bloodline. Therefore, he agreed. The Gu family was not engaged to an ordinary clan, but to the Shadowless clan. The Shadowless clan was one of the 10,000 ancient clans. Moreover, they were a royal clan and were very powerful. On the Great Yin planet, there was a branch of the Shadowless clan. Logically speaking, the Shadowless clan was a royal clan while the Gu family was an emperor clan. However, the Shadowless clan had flourished on the Great Yin planet for thousands of years, and was very powerful. As for Gu Santong's bloodline, they were not very powerful. In addition, they had just arrived. Therefore, the marriage alliance between the two families could be considered a match. At that time, the Gu family still needed the Shadowless clan's help. At first, Gu Santong did not think much of it. However, by chance he heard about the Shadowless clan's secret and conspiracy. He was immediately unhappy. He wanted to break off the marriage alliance, but how could his family agree? Their bloodline had finally settled down here. If they offended the Shadowless clan, they would be forced to leave the Great Yin planet. It would be even more difficult for them to go to other worlds in the future. They might even be killed by the Gu family's divine body. Oh, what secret? Lin Xian asked. For Gu Santong to be so angry, it was definitely not a small matter. Gu Santong said through gritted teeth. That damned woman and the Shadowless clan did not want to help the Gu family at all. They wanted the Gu family's inheritance. You also know that we are emperor clans. What we cultivate is naturally the emperor's techniques. How exquisite that was. That woman from the Shadowless clan and her entire clan were after the ancient void scripture. There was actually such a thing? Lin Xian sucked in a breath of cold air. The ancient void scripture was an inheritance created by the emperor. It was definitely something that countless people would covet. Although Gu Santong and his bloodline had declined, they were unable to learn the core of the inheritance. However, what they cultivated was related to the emperor's techniques. It was definitely not weak. The Shadowless clan saw this point and decided to form an alliance with the Gu family. The Shadowless clan was also a very mysterious clan. They had no form and were very similar to the Void. This was why they wanted the Gu family's inheritance. Didn't you tell your people about this matter? Lin Xian asked. Not yet. My family did not know. Because if this matter was leaked, the Shadowless clan would not be so gentle. They would definitely use extremely fierce methods. Perhaps they might even catch all of us in one fell swoop. Then what do you plan to do? I don't know. But even if I die, I will not reveal the ancient void scripture of the Gu family. Not to mention the ancient void scripture, even if it was any of our country's techniques, I would not reveal it to them. Then, what was the agreement you made before? Lin Xian asked again. Chapter 3448. Gu Santong thought. It's that woman, the woman who wants to marry me. She probably can't wait any longer, and is rushing me to complete the marriage. Oh, someone from the Shadowless clan? That's good. I want to see who dares to be so bold as to covet the Void Emperor's secret technique inheritance. A cold glint appeared in Lin Xian's eyes. To be honest, he was furious. Gu Santong was his friend, and the other party dared to scheme against his friend. He couldn't accept it. Moreover, he also came from the true spirit world, and the Void Emperor was the emperor of the true spirit world. Lin Xian was naturally displeased that the other worlds were trying to take advantage of their world. Therefore, he wanted to see what the Shadowless clan was capable of to be so arrogant. Brother Lin, what do you mean? Gu Santong looked at Lin Xian in surprise. Lin Xian smiled. Didn't he want to see you? Let's meet. Don't worry with me here, I won't let the Gu clan's inheritance leak out. Good. Gu Santong was also excited and hope returned to his eyes. He knew that Lin Xian was very strong now, and he seemed to have a powerful force behind him. If Lin Xian could help, it would be best. He said, Hero, I know we are friends, but if we fight, the implications will be too great. However, if you can really help me get out of this marriage, I can give you a scroll of the Gu clan's ancient scripture as a reward. Hearing this, Lin Xian sucked in a breath of cold air. That was the Emperor clan's ancient scripture. However, he quickly said, I thought the Gu clan's inheritance couldn't be leaked. You're going against the rules. Gu Santong said, Don't worry, I won't break the rules. The core of the Gu clan is the Void Emperor's ancient void scripture. I only touched the surface, and I don't even have the right to touch the core. Therefore, I can't leak it. Of course, other than the Emperor, the Gu clan also gave birth to countless saints. They also created countless secret techniques and mystiques based on the ancient void scripture. Of course, these were also very precious divine abilities and secret techniques. Normally, the Gu family would not leak this information to outsiders. However, there were exceptions. For example, if the Gu clan is indebted to someone, we will give them a divine ability as a form of gratitude. This had happened 3 times in the history of the clan. Therefore, I'm not breaking the family's rules by giving you an ancient scripture divine ability. So that was the case. Lin Xian understood. Although it was not the void scripture, it was the most crucial secret technique. However, it was also a divine ability created by a saint expert of the Gu clan. Its power was also extremely terrifying. Moreover, what the Gu family gave him must have something to do with spatial magic. Space mystiques were extremely powerful mystiques, so how could Lin Xian not be excited? One had to know that the Shadowless clan was aiming for these secret arts. Lin Xian rejoiced inwardly. This kind of ancient scripture was not passed down to outsiders. In history, the Gu family had only passed it down to their benefactors 3 times. Perhaps, this would be the 4th time for Lin Xian. This was an extremely rare opportunity, so Lin Xian said, "Don't worry with me here, I won't let the Shadowless clan succeed." The Celestial Lincian Pavilion was a very famous holy land on the Great Yin planet. The Celestial Lincian Pavilion was a building built by intersecting 3 top-grade spirit veins. The spiritual energy was very rich. There were even heaven and earth anomalies. It could be said that it was a place that all powerhouses on the Great Yin planet dreamed of. However, those who were able to come here were all extraordinary. Other than the peerless experts, only the top clans and sects were able to come here. Outside the Celestial Lincian Pavilion stood 2 young figures. They were Lin Xian and Gu Santong. The 2 of them discussed for a while and decided to go. Wang. The newcomer stopped. A cold voice came from inside the Celestial Lincian Pavilion. The surrounding sword chi formed illusions of an azure dragon and a white tiger. These were all extremely terrifying techniques and arrays. If there were any strange movements, they would instantly kill the person. Even a saint would not dare to act wildly here. Lin Xian and the young man stopped, and the face of an old man appeared from within, looking down at the 2 of them condescendingly. This was the Celestial Lincian Pavilion. Not just anyone could enter. Do you 2 have an identity jade token? Ordinary people could not come to such a place. Even some saints could not come. Unless you had a reputation that resounded throughout the entire star realm, or you were recommended by a top family and had an identity jade token, you could enter. I'm here to see Hua Feiyu of the Shadowless clan. As he spoke, Gu Santong took out a token. It was the token that the middle-aged man had given him. The old face in front of them carefully looked at the token, then nodded. Please. As he spoke, the array in front of them split open. Countless rays of light flashed, forming a colorful passage. The 2 of them strode in. After entering, even Lin Xian exclaimed. He had to admit that the layout of the Celestial Lincian Pavilion was exquisite. The array around it was of the world level. Even a saint would not dare to act wildly here. More importantly, there were 3 supreme-grade spiritual veins gathered together. The pure energy they emitted shocked him greatly. They really knew how to enjoy life. He did not expect the Great Yin planet to have such a supreme-grade place. If he could cultivate here all year round, the efficiency would be really high. In addition, the guards and deacons inside were all half-sages. There were even saints. The standard was so high that it was shocking. After Lin Xian entered, he was led in by a half-sage deacon. After walking for about half an hour, they came to the front. In front of them was a very majestic palace. The buildings were engraved with Tao patterns. They were densely packed and carried with them the mysterious power of heaven and earth. This was the work of a saint. At this moment, there was a jade platform in front of the palace. Similarly, it was formed with patterns of Tao patterns. On one side of the jade platform sat a woman in a pink dress. She sat there with her hair hanging down to her waist. At this moment, she stretched out her slender hands and was cutting flowers. She was not cutting ordinary flowers, but spirit flowers that were around 7,000 years old. Lin Xian recognized it at a glance. It was called the peace bloom flower. It had a strong effect on the growth of one's soul. Smelling this flower for years could unknowingly increase one's soul power. It was very precious. On the vase that was engraved with Tao patterns, there were several bouquets of peace bloom flowers. They were all around 7,000 years old. At this moment, the woman in pink was holding a palm-sized dragon scissors and carefully cutting the flowers. She looked very leisurely, but Lin Xian could see that she was cultivating. Every movement seemed casual, but it carried with it the Tao of heaven and earth. Chapter 3449. She was cultivating, which meant that she was a saint. She was comprehending the laws of heaven and earth. This woman should be Gu Santong's fiancée, the little princess of the Shadowless clan, Hua Feiyu. After Lin Xian and Gu Santong arrived, the deacon who had led them left. In the hall, other than the two of them, there was only Hua Feiyu, who was still cutting flowers. A middle-aged man stood in the distance. It was the man who had met Gu Santong before. At this moment, he had a long sword hanging from his waist. His aura was faint, but it was obvious that he was watching the situation in the hall. If there was the slightest movement, he would intervene. Gu Santong frowned slightly. He was already here, but the other party did not seem to have any intention of paying attention to him. This made him a little angry. He was about to open his mouth to say something, but Lin Xian gently pulled him back, stopping him. At the same time, Lin Xian transmitted a message to him, telling him not to rush. Let's see what she is up to. After Gu Santong heard the message, he calmed down. With Lin Xian by his side, he was not as uneasy as before. The two of them waited like this for 7 days and 7 nights. During this time, no one moved. Only Hua Feiyu, who was in front, continued to cut flowers. Finally, on the 8th day, when the sun rose, Hua Feiyu let go of the dragon sword in her hand. She raised her head, a strange light in her eyes. Santong, you're here. This time, you're not the same as before. I didn't expect you to be able to wait for so long. Gu Santong snorted coldly and did not say anything. However, he was very unhappy. He had been here for a long time, and had waited for 7 days and 7 nights. This damned woman, she was obviously trying to show him who was the boss. Hua Feiyu was very calm. She glanced at Gu Santong, then looked at the peace bloom in front of her. From the beginning to the end, she had not looked at Lin Xian. In her opinion, he was not even worth mentioning. She didn't even care much about Gu Santong. If it weren't for his identity and the fact that he had inherited the martial technique, she probably wouldn't even have bothered to look at an ant like him. There is still a month before our wedding. Go back and prepare for it. My Shadowless clan is a peak family of the Grand Spill planet. Your Gu clan cannot lose face for our Shadowless clan. Wedding? Gu Santong sneered. Hua Feiyu, you think too highly of yourself. Don't think that I don't know what your family is planning. Today, I can tell you clearly that I will not marry you. After he finished speaking, the middle-aged man in the distance was stunned. Then his face instantly darkened. As for Hua Feiyu, she also stopped what she was doing. She once again raised her hand as her voice became ice cold. I can take that as a joke and I didn't hear it. Now go back and prepare for the wedding. Are you deaf? I said, I won't marry you. Gu Santong roared again. His voice was like a clap of thunder. No. Give me a reason. I won't let your Shadowless clan scheme succeed. You're too young and hot-headed. You're too reckless. What do you think my Shadowless clan is? You think you can refuse just because you want to? I won't marry you today. What can you do about it? Gu Santong steeled his heart. Hua Feiyu wasn't angry. Instead, she waved her hand and said to the middle-aged man without looking back, letting him out. When the middle-aged man heard this, he sneered and took out a pagoda. Then he formed a seal with his palms and the pagoda continued to grow. Inside the pagoda, there was a figure floating up and down, suspended in midair by the chains of law. It was a youth with delicate features who was suspended in the air. His face was full of fear. Damn it. Gu Santong stood up immediately. You dare kidnap my brother. He was instantly enraged. That's right, this child was Gu Santong's brother. He had followed Gu Santong and his family to the Grand Spill planet. But he didn't expect that they would kidnap his brother and treat him like this. Gu Santong was instantly enraged. His body emitted a terrifying aura, as if he was about to attack. When the middle-aged man saw this, he sneered and took a step forward. A terrifying wave of law surged out. This caused Gu Santong's expression to change. A mere half-sage didn't have the right to be arrogant in front of him. That middle-aged man was a sage. Damn it. Hua Feiyu. What is the meaning of this? Gu Santong stared at the woman in front of him. The black-clothed woman said indifferently. Very simple. Now go back obediently and stay in your family. We'll hold the wedding in a month. If everything goes well, they'll let your brother go. If you and your family do anything out of the ordinary, I can guarantee that your brother's soul will be destroyed. How dare you? Gu Santong roared like a madman. Hua Feiyu's expression was indifferent. There's nothing to be afraid of. I'll only say this once. If you don't want your brother's life, you can do it. This time, Gu Santong didn't say anything else. He immediately made his move. He instantly used the secret space technique to arrive at the bottom of the tower. His speed was extremely fast. It was as if he had opened a space portal. Once he appeared, he was in front of his brother. The Great Void handprint grabbed at the chain of law, intending to shatter it. Boom. The sound of an intense collision was heard. A terrifying wave of energy swept out in all directions. Suddenly, the power of the law exploded. Gu Santong was sent flying. His chi and blood churned, and he spat out a mouthful of blood. Throughout the entire process, the middle-aged man and Hua Feiyu didn't move. Seeing this, Hua Feiyu chuckled. I have to say, you're really a piece of trash. If it weren't for your status, do you think I'd marry a piece of trash like you? Alright, I'll forgive you this time. Go back obediently. Damn it. You really deserve to die. Gu Santong was furious. His eyes were red and his body was trembling. He hated himself for being so weak. If he was a saint, then he would have been able to save her brother just now. But now, not only did he fail to save her brother, he was injured by that wave of energy. He was a joke to others. Go back? Why should I go back? At this moment, a voice rang out. At the same time, a hand was placed on Gu Santong's shoulder. Gu Santong was stunned. He felt a warm energy coming from his body. He turned to look at Lin Xian. A glimmer of hope returned to his eyes. In front, Hua Feiyu also frowned. She looked at Lin Xian. I'm talking to your master. What right do you have to speak as a servant? Open your mouth. Hua Feiyu was furious. To be honest, she didn't even think highly of Gu Santong, let alone the person Gu Santong brought. In her opinion, the person Gu Santong brought was nothing special. At most, he was a servant of the Gu family. Moreover, from the beginning to the end, she didn't feel any powerful aura from him. Now even Gu Santong didn't dare to refute her. A servant dared to refute her will. This was an act of suicide. Chapter 3450. Wang. Hearing Hua Feiyu's words, the middle-aged man waved his hand. In the sky, countless laws formed a hand of laws and slapped towards Lin Xian. This was the power of the laws of heaven and earth. It was extremely terrifying. Not to mention a slap, this attack could turn someone into a bloody mist. Feeling the power of this palm, Gu Santong's face changed. It was too terrifying. He could not even breathe. Oh no, brother Lin dodge. He wanted to explain Lin Xian's identity, but it was too late. At the same time, he was extremely worried. Although he knew that Lin Xian was powerful, he had never seen Lin Xian's true strength. The last time they met, it was the woman beside Lin Xian who attacked. This time, they did not bring the woman with them. Therefore, he was not sure if Lin Xian could withstand the attack of a saint. In fact, he subconsciously felt that he could not withstand it. That was why she shouted so loudly. Humph, what an idiot. Seeing this, Hua Feiyu shook her head and laughed coldly. Even Gu Santong could not withstand this attack, let alone a servant of the Gu family. The middle-aged saint who attacked also smiled coldly. Fine, let's kill this ant. Let's see if Gu Santong still dares to behave atrociously in front of us in the future. The only one who was calm was Lin Xian. He looked at the sword of laws descending from the sky with a calm expression. In the next moment, he stretched out his hand and grabbed upwards. Previously, Lin Xian did not make a move, because he felt that the time was not right. But later, not only did the other party threaten Gu Santong, he even captured Gu Santong's younger brother. He even wanted to kill him. At this moment, Lin Xian moved. Boom! On Lin Xian's palm, balls of golden Dao patterns appeared. Like burning golden flames, they reached out to grab the space in front of them. This power caused Gu Santong to be stunned once again. He kept retreating because the power of this palm was too terrifying. The entire void instantly sank. This scene was very strange. It was as if the entire space had stopped. Only the two palms kept moving. Boom. When the two palms collided, there was the sound of thousands of lightning bolts. Countless cracks spread between heaven and earth. The terrifying power formed black holes. What was even more frightening was that the palm of laws in the sky was broken into pieces. Not only that, but the middle-aged saint who attacked also kept retreating. His palm was bleeding and his entire arm was trembling. Then he exploded into a mist of blood. In fact, when Gu Santong attacked, the guards of the Celestial Lin Pavilion had already gathered here. But they saw Hua. He did not make a move and did not move too far away. Later on, they saw that Lin Xian had a look of disdain on his face when he made his move. But the scene before their eyes, they were really shocked Lin. A saint was injured. Moreover, he had been lightly struck by the other party's palm. This was unbelievable. Gu Santong also widened his eyes in disbelief. He knew that Lin Xian was powerful, but he did not expect Lin Xian to be so powerful. Lin Xian's attack was broken so easily. This meant that Lin Xian was at least a saint, or at least had the combat strength of a saint. There was another person who was shocked. That person was Hua Feiyu. At this moment, the Jiao Dragon scissors in her hand fell onto the white jade bracelet again. But she did not notice it at all. Her beautiful eyes were wide open. How could this be? Shadowless upper spirit was injured. This was simply too inconceivable. One should know that the middle-aged man she was with was a first heaven sage. Moreover, he was a middle-stage first heaven sage. His strength was terrifying. In her opinion, no one in Gu Santong's faction could withstand this attack. But now, a young man beside Gu Santong had managed to withstand it. Not only did he withstand it, but he also injured Shadowless upper spirit. This scene was like a dream to her. It did not feel real. Lin Xian retracted his hand, and a smile appeared on his face as he walked forward. In a few steps, he arrived in front of the white jade platform. Then he picked up a peace bloom flower and sniffed it. Then he said calmly, "You dare to be arrogant in front of me with such strength? You must be tired of living." Since Brother Gu said that he does not want to get married, no one can force him. Lin Xian's voice was not loud, but it was unquestionable. "Who are you?" Hua Feiyu finally regained her senses. She looked at the young man who was very close to her and was extremely shocked. Until now, she had not figured out his strength. It was too strange. He was unfathomable. "You don't deserve to know who I am. You only need to know that from now on, this brother of mine will not be threatened by your family. Moreover, no one can threaten him. Damn kid, you're courting death." Behind him, the middle-aged man, Shadowless upper spirit, roared. He was actually injured by a brat. This was something he could not accept. Moreover, Lin Xian was being so arrogant. No one can threaten the Shadowless tribe. In the next moment, he roared and threw his palm at Lin Xian again. This time, his palm became extremely strange. There were simply no traces of it at all. Thus, no one knew where it would appear from. This was the specialty of the Shadowless tribe. It was similar to the void technique. However, Lin Xian did not care. A golden light appeared in his eyes. Then, with a slight tap of his foot, his body moved away in an instant. At the place where he was originally standing, a terrifying giant palm appeared and tore the void apart. What? He dodged it? That's impossible. Shadowless upper spirit screamed. How could Lin Xian dodge my shadowless palm? One had to know that the shadowless palm was completely traceless. Could it be that the other party had noticed it in advance? He could not believe it. Hua Feiyu was also stunned. He said coldly, "I don't know who you are, nor do I know your relationship with Gu Santong. But let me tell you, the Shadowless tribe is not to be trifled with. The Shadowless tribe is the royal tribe of the 10,000 Archean tribes. Even in the Great Yin planet, we are one of the top families. Are you sure you want to start a war with the Shadowless tribe? Let's not talk about the entire tribe. Just the top prodigies of the Shadowless tribe are not people you can fight against." Speaking of this, Hua Feiyu's eyes were full of arrogance. Lin Xian smiled. "Oh, who is the prodigy of the Shadowless tribe? I've never heard of him." "Then I can only say that you're ignorant." Hua Feiyu snorted. His eyes were full of arrogance. "The top prodigy of the Shadowless tribe is called Shadowless Chun. Thank you, Golden Peach Blossom, for your tip. I have wine. Will you come with me? Tip. Asterisk working hard, looking to the future asterisk tip. Once the user returns the item, it's not a reward. The user had only tipped once. Gift from user Chen Xiaoyang. Tip from user Lone One Yang A 1. Users have been wanting to tip for a long time. Tip. Stupid bear. Tip. Tip. User Gao Feng outside the city tipped. Chapter 3451. Even on the starry sky ancient road, he was one of the best. Really? So powerful, as if he was invincible. But why have I never heard of him on the starry sky ancient road? Lin Xian had never heard of the name Wu Yingchen. What do you know? Wu Yingchen was now a saint, and a very young one at that. In the Heaven Punisher, there were less than 5 people in the younger generation who could defeat him. Pfft, what was there to be arrogant about? There were still people who could defeat him. Gu Santong sneered when he heard this. Hua Feiyu showed a trace of disdain. Gu Santong, you are an idiot. You don't know what this means. Let me tell you, who can be compared to the prodigies of the Shadowless tribe. The first is the successor of the great emperor Yin Nantian. I think you should be familiar with this name, because I have investigated. Yin Nantian, and you are in the same starry sky world. You are only a half-saint, but Yin Nantian is different. Although he is a half-saint, it is said that Yin Nantian has killed more than one sage. And he has the inheritance of the great emperor. He is so powerful that no one can defeat him. The second is the famous little sword saint. He has comprehended the law of the sword, which also shocks some sages. The third is Di Ling. The number 1 on the Abyss leaderboard was very mysterious. Although he did not attack often, every attack was earth-shattering. The fourth is called An 13. He is a top young assassin of the Dark Moon Palace. Although his reputation wasn't as great as Yuling's, his strength was much stronger than Yuling's. Because he was a saint-level assassin, he could become an assassin saint. Hua Feiyu said the names of the 4 people in a row, then shook his white jade-like finger. Only they are qualified to be compared to the prodigy of the Shadowless tribe, Wu Yingchen. For people, didn't you say there was one more? Looks like you were just bragging. Gu Santong sneered. Hua Feiyu said coldly. Of course, there is one more person. He is the number 1 on the Abyss leaderboard, and also the Vermilion Bird leaderboard, and he defeated Yin Nantian. He is called Lin Wudi. However, I reckon that he's already dead. Because right now, countless experts and saints from all over the universe want to kill him. He definitely won't be able to survive. Lin Wudi. Gu Santong's heart raced. He had defeated Yin Nantian, and his surname was Lin Xian. He could not help but look at Lin Xian. Could that Lin Wudi be the Lin Xian beside him? He wasn't sure. Because recently, he really didn't care much about the outside world. However, in his opinion, it shouldn't be possible. Hua Feiyu spoke again. Only these 5 people are qualified to compete with the top geniuses of the Shadowless clan. What about you? Who are you? Are you Yin Nantian or Di Ling? At this point, her eyes were filled with mockery. He was a young man. Although he was very powerful, so what? Daring to go against the Shadowless clan, they must be tired of living. You know quite a lot. Lin Xian's lips curled into a smile. It was as if he did not care about these rumors at all. This smile made Hua Feiyu extremely unhappy. What was he pretending for? However, suddenly, her heart skipped a beat. Wait. She remembered that Gu Santong had just called him Brother Lin. That meant that his surname was Lin. Moreover, Gu Santong should not have many friends other than the Gu clan. However, this person in front of her was willing to stand up for Gu Santong. That meant that the 2 of them were very likely from the same world. According to her investigation, Yin Nantian and Gu Santong were from the same world. Apart from them, there was another person, and that was Lin Wudi. Lin Wudi and Yin Nantian were also from the same world. And this person in front of her was surnamed Lin. Could it be that this person was him? She had a thought in her mind, but this thought struck her like lightning. She did not dare to believe it. That's impossible. Why would he come here? Wasn't he being hunted down by countless saints? However, when she saw Lin Xian's confident smile, her entire body turned cold. She knew that she had guessed right. He was that person. However, before she could say anything, the middle-aged saint, shadowless upper spirit, said coldly, "Sis, don't waste your breath on them. Oh, kill this kid now. I was careless just now. Now oh, go all out." Having said that, he roared angrily. His entire body turned illusory, and lines of blood-red lines appeared on his body. That was the power of his bloodline. It was obvious that shadowless upper spirit was going to use his ultimate move. Shadowless slash. This was indeed the ultimate move of the shadowless tribe. This slash could even catch someone off guard and kill someone who was more powerful than him. He did not believe that Lin Xian would be able to withstand his full power. "No, you can't do it," Hua Feiyu screamed, because she had already guessed the identity of the other party. Making a move against such a person was simply courting death. However, she did not have time to remind Lin Xian. Shadowless upper spirit had already made his move. Lin Xian's face darkened. "Since you want to die, I'll fulfill your wish." Golden lines appeared on his palm, and the 5 elements divine chains circled around it. His entire palm carried an extremely terrifying energy wave, as if it had turned into a giant dragon and charged out. In an instant, the entire space exploded, and the surrounding formations flickered non-stop. In fact, they even began to fluctuate. The energy wave was so powerful that Gu Santong and Hua Feiyu were forced to retreat. The faces of the guards in the distance changed drastically as well. However, the saint-level formation was actually showing signs of shattering at this moment. Who was the person who attacked? The energy wave was so terrifying that it startled everyone in the Celestial Advent Pavilion. When the elites rushed over, they were all stunned. They saw the sage blood in the sky being destroyed by a giant palm that was as big as a 5 elements mountain. The miserable cries sent chills down their spines. Finally, it disappeared into the sky. These people were crazy. What had they just seen? Someone had destroyed the sage blood. Someone had killed a sage. And it had happened in the blink of an eye. Who was this person? He was the god of death. Originally, the Celestial Advent Pavilion had a rule that no one was allowed to fight. Otherwise, they would kill that person. But now they did not dare to do anything. Gu Santong was also stunned. Was he dead? A saint-level expert was killed just like that? Hua Feiyu's heart raced and her body trembled. Yes, it was him. It must be him. It was because of him that he had such strength. The elites in the Celestial Advent Pavilion were also stunned. They even wanted to turn around and run. The entire space was eerily silent. As expected of the peace bloom, it could increase one's soul power. Lin Xian said calmly. He placed the flower in his hand between Hua Feiyu's hair. Chapter 3452. Hua Feiyu trembled in fear, and did not dare to resist. Her heart was filled with fear. She was afraid that the other party would attack. Although she was also a sage, she was only at the beginner first heaven. Even a sage at the middle first heaven was instantly killed by the other party. How could she be a match for him? If the other party attacked at this time, she would not be able to escape death. She opened her small mouth and wanted to say something, but she could not make a sound. It was as if the Grim Reaper had grabbed her neck. At this time, a sage from the Celestial Advent Pavilion spoke. He said in a deep voice, "Who are you?" Lin Xian did not pay attention to the sage at all. Instead, he looked at Hua Feiyu with a faint smile on his face. Now you should know who I am, right? Hua Feiyu swallowed her saliva with difficulty. Although Lin Xian did not emit any terrifying aura now, she could not breathe. However, she couldn't breathe anymore. She would be an idiot if she still didn't know who the other party was. Lin Wudi, you are Lin Wudi. Her voice was filled with endless fear and trembling. What Lin Wudi? The surrounding experts and sages from the Spirit Immortal Pavilion were also stunned. They were not unfamiliar with this name at all because Lin Wudi had long been famous on the ancient road of the stars. First he defeated Yin Nantian, and then stirred up a storm in the void ocean. Now countless experts were looking for him. But they did not expect that he would be here. He had appeared in the great Yin planet. And the moment he appeared, he had killed a sage. These people felt their scalps go numb. Fortunately, they did not rush forward rashly. Otherwise, they would be dead now. These people were filled with shock and fear. They did not dare to go forward at all. Many of them even took a few steps back. Su Chen stretched out a finger and gently flicked it. A ray of sword chi shattered the chains of law on the tower in front of him. Then he said, Santong, take your brother away. Leave this to me. Okay. Gu Santong nodded. He already knew that Lin Xian was very powerful. These people would definitely not dare to attack, so he did not hesitate and went forward to save his brother. Then he brought her out. When he left the spiritual celestial pavilion, Gu Santong's heart was filled with shock. He had never thought that Lin Xian would have such a reputation. Just his name alone was enough to make the people around him not dare to make a move. It was easy to imagine what Lin Xian had gone through before. The two of them were friends, and even though there was a difference in their strength, he didn't think that it would be too much of a difference. But now he could only laugh bitterly. He was still a half-sage, while Lin Xian had become a sage. Moreover, his name shook the 10,000 realms. Those older generation experts all acknowledged allegiance to him. The gap between them was simply too huge. However, he was not jealous. All he had was determination. He had to move forward on the path of martial arts. Thinking of this, he took a deep breath and flew into the distance. In the distance, the elders of the Gu clan were already waiting. They were very worried about Gu Santong's safety. When they saw Gu Santong come out, they heaved a sigh of relief. They had asked, did he not come out? As expected, Gu Santong recounted what had happened. When the elders of the Gu clan heard this, they all gasped. Heavens, young Master Lin is Lin Wudi. It's really him. I should have guessed it. Many elders were shocked. However, Gu Santong said that although Brother Lin was Lin Wudi, he was very powerful and could intimidate these people. But the Shadowless clan is definitely one of the top clans. If there was a conflict, even Brother Lin would not be able to handle it. Young Master, don't worry about this. If it were anyone else, they might not be able to handle it. But Lin Wudi can definitely do it. Even the Vermilion Bird Palace could not kill him. Let alone the Shadowless clan. Moreover, many big clans and factions wanted to kill Lin Wudi. But Lin Wudi was still alive and well. Moreover, those who dared to provoke Lin Wudi all had terrible endings. If the Shadowless clan really dared to go against Lin Wudi, they would probably suffer heavy losses. Those elders were all very excited. They had heard all kinds of legends about Lin Wudi. Now that they knew that it was Lin Wudi, they were very excited. Seeing that their clan elders were so excited, Gu Santong was even more shocked. It seemed that he had underestimated Lin Xian's reputation. Previously, their elders were very afraid of the Shadowless clan. But now, it seemed that no one was optimistic about the Shadowless clan. Instead, they were optimistic about Lin Wudi. What kind of strength did he have to make these elders think like this? Gu Santong was extremely shocked. He could not help but turn his head to look at the Lingxian pavilion in the distance. The Lingxian pavilion was still silent. Everyone's eyes were on Lin Xian. Lin Xian's eyes were on Huafeiyu. Huafeiyu's face was extremely pale. It was as if she was being stared at by a peerless beast. The blood in her body was about to condense. Cold sweat dripped from her forehead and streaked across her beautiful face. What do you want? If you touch me, the Shadowless clan will not let you off. Huafeiyu could only threaten him. Did you know? Those who have threatened me are all dead. For example, the Great Demon, and some of the geniuses that you have heard of. Hearing this, Huafeiyu's heart thumped. She knew that he was right. Lin Wudi's battle achievements were like thunder to her ears. If she dared to provoke him, he would definitely kill her with one slap. Although the Shadowless clan was strong, so what? Which top sect did not want to kill him? But he was still alive and well. So she knew that threatening him was useless. Huafeiyu took a deep breath. Young Master Lin, I was wrong this time. I apologize to you. And I promise that from now on, I will not have any ideas about Gu Santong. Please spare my life. When the surrounding people saw this scene, they were all stunned. They were dumbfounded. What did they just see? The princess of the Shadowless clan, the high and mighty queen, was lowering her head to someone at this moment. And she was begging for mercy. This scene was simply like a dream. Su Chen's lips curled up. He knew that Gu Santong's matter had been resolved. He was about to say something, but at this moment, Black Mountain spoke. Kid, there's something wrong. The girl in front of you is not ordinary. She seems to be hiding something in her body. Hearing Black Mountain's voice transmission, Lin Xian frowned and revealed a trace of surprise. Black Mountain was the great sage. He was knowledgeable, so he could naturally see many key problems. Lin Xian said, "What was it? Could it be the soul mark of a sage? Something to protect one's life?" he asked. Usually, he knew that top geniuses like this would have a life-saving talisman of their clan's ancestor. However, he was not too concerned about this. It was just a life-saving talisman. It could not do anything to him. However, Heishan told him through voice transmission that he wasn't. Chapter 3453. It wasn't. Lin Xian was stunned. If it wasn't a life-saving talisman, then what was it? It was a soul, a very weak soul. Heishan said telepathically. A remnant soul? Just like you. Lin Xian was surprised. Heishan said, "It's not the same. It has an extremely strong death aura. It shouldn't exist in this world. It's just that for some reason, it survived in this woman's body." Heishan sneered. Perhaps even this woman herself didn't know that there was such a soul in her body. Hearing this, Lin Xian's eyes flickered. "There's such a thing?" he asked. "What does that have to do with us? Just kill this woman." "No, I'm very curious. Who is it that came up with such a method?" "Kid, although I promised you to be by your side to assist you, I also want to be resurrected one day. So I'm very interested in this method. Although I may not do it, maybe I can get some inspiration from it." "I understand." Lin Xian nodded. A cold light appeared in his eyes. "You can take action and grab that soul. Okay, but help me cover it up," Heishan said telepathically. Hearing this, Lin Xian stretched out his palm. A black aura appeared on it, like a ghost aura. It was very scary. He grabbed at Hua Feiyu. Hua Feiyu screamed like crazy, her face full of horror. "Is he going to kill me? Is he really going to do it?" "No. Spare my life," she screamed. The surrounding people were also stunned. If they killed Hua Feiyu, they would definitely start a war with the Shadowless clan. This time, Lin Wudi was really strong. But soon they were stunned. Hua Feiyu was also stunned. She saw that the black palm passed through her body, but she was not injured. "What's going on?" She widened her beautiful eyes. The next moment, her whole body trembled because she found that the black palm was pulling out of her body. At the same time, a black shadow came out. It was a very strange black shadow. It seemed that the latter wanted to return to her body. "What's going on?" Hua Feiyu was stunned. "Why is there such a shadow in my body?" This was too unbelievable. While she was in a daze, the black shadow suddenly let out a miserable shriek. Whoosh. After that, the entire space darkened as if it had turned into hell. Ghostly wails and howls could be heard all around. The terrifying aura made the surrounding sages feel numb. What did he give birth to? Everyone in the Celestial Lin Pavilion was stunned. Many of them were trembling in fear. Hua Feiyu was even more stunned. Lin Xian sneered as he activated his great dragon sword soul. Sharp sword chi pierced out in all directions. Immediately, the miserable cries became even more terrifying. Hua Feiyu also revealed a pained expression. Half of the black shadow's body had left, and there was still a pair of legs inside her body. However, at this moment, a few Dao patterns suddenly lit up on her body and formed an array formation. She firmly locked onto the black shadow and seemed to want to stop it from escaping. Not only that, but Hua Feiyu's bloodline power was also stimulated out of nowhere. Hua Feiyu was stunned. He did not move at all. This was all controlled by someone else. What was going on? The black shadow in her body was actually able to control the power of her blood. Soul-locking array? Heishan sneered, not caring at all. He did not care about a mere soul-locking array. The black claw slapped a few times and all of them were aimed at the vital points of the soul-locking array. When Lin Xian saw this, he immediately unleashed his dragon-shaped sword chi and shattered those vital points. With a crack, the entire soul-locking array was smashed into pieces. Hua Feiyu's body trembled. The black shadow was completely pulled out. Roar! Between heaven and earth, an extremely terrifying roar rang out. Then, the black shadow rushed out of the Celestial Lin Pavilion, wanting to escape. However, how could Lin Xian let it escape? Countless dragon-shaped sword chi intertwined to form a dragon sword sacred realm, completely sealing off all the space. The black shadow crashed into the sword chi and let out a miserable cry. It quickly retreated, its face full of fear. These sword chis were capable of annihilating everything. There was no way this soul could escape. At this moment, Heishan also moved. Soul sealing seal. Between heaven and earth, countless Tao inscriptions formed a seal, shrouding towards the black soul. The soul wanted to resist, but after being slashed a few times by the sword chi, it became extremely weak and was finally sealed. Did you succeed? Lin Xian asked telepathically. Heishan nodded, revealing a smile. But soon she frowned. Wait a moment, kid, chase all the people around out. Hearing this, Lin Xian was stunned. Then he snorted coldly, get lost if you don't want to die. The sword chi circled around, and all the people around him retreated. Even the sages were pushed out. Lin Xian took out an array and directly shrouded the entire space. The next moment he asked, what's wrong? It's not over yet. It's more complicated than I thought. As she spoke, Heishan looked at Hua Feiyu. Xian also looked over. At this moment, Hua Feiyu was already sitting on the ground, paralyzed. Her face became extremely pale. She was stunned by the scene that had just unfolded. Now when she felt Lin Xian's gaze, her body suddenly trembled. She didn't know what he was going to do. At this moment, Heishan telepathically said, "Kid, do as I say." Then, Lin Xian heard Heishan's telepathic message. He was stunned, but soon a cold look appeared in his eyes. With a wave of his hand, he directly shot out the Nine Suns' divine fire and enveloped Hua Feiyu. Hua Feiyu was burned by the flames and immediately screamed, but she couldn't escape at all. Lin Xian's palm firmly enveloped her. Don't worry, I won't kill you. Don't fight. There are some things on you that I have to figure out. Figure out? What do you want to figure out? Hua Feiyu found that the clothes and armor on her body had all melted under the strange flames. She appeared in front of him like a newborn baby, which made her ears turn red. She had never faced a man like that. Lin Xian didn't feel anything strange. He continued to activate the Nine Suns' divine fire. Gradually, he found that Hua Feiyu's body was changing again. Mysterious vein patterns appeared one after another. They were all Dao veins that were densely packed and crawled all over his body. Not only that, the shadow under Hua Feiyu's feet seemed to be twisting in pain. This scene made Lin Xian's hair stand. Hua Feiyu was terrified, but she didn't know what had happened. Lin Xian saw that the Dao patterns on her body were like a ghost's head when combined, using the soul to raise the corpse. It was such a method. Heishan exclaimed, as if he didn't expect this to happen. Chapter 3454. What was going on? Lin Xian asked. Hua Feiyu was also stunned. She had never thought that there was such a thing hidden in her body. Heishan said that this girl was just a sacrifice, using her body to raise another person. Moreover, the Dao patterns on her body and this method made me think of an ancient legend. Ancient legend? What was that? Reincarnation. Reincarnation. Lin Xian was shocked. There was such a saying that after one died in battle, one would enter the 6 paths of reincarnation. Then one would live in this world as a new life. And martial artists cultivated to escape this kind of reincarnation. There were 5 swords in the world, other than the Great Dragon Sword and the Heavenly Punishment Sword. There was another one called the Reincarnation Sword. It was said that it was related to the 6 paths of reincarnation. The Reincarnation Sword. Lin Xian was shocked. Suddenly, he felt that his heavenly secret divine eyes suddenly released a light. It was as if his eyes were like his heart, beating rapidly. What was going on? Lin Xian was shocked. The heavenly secret divine eyes had a reaction? Could it be related to the thing on Hua Feiyu's body? He did not know, but he was even more interested. It seemed that even if he did not help Heishan, he would have to study it himself. Then, who was this person that wanted to be revived? Lin Xian said again. He glanced at Hua Feiyu. Hua Feiyu was still in great shock. Heishan said that he was not sure, but it seemed that even the power of the bloodline was stimulated. It was very likely that it was the ancestor of the Shadowless clan. Or, it was related to the Shadowless clan. Ancestor. This time, Hua Feiyu came back to her senses and screamed. Her face became extremely pale, as if she had thought of something. What did you think of? Tell me and I will spare your life. Lin Xian said coldly. I remember that when I was 5 years old, I was taught by the Grand Elder of the clan to go to the ancestral land of the Shadowless clan every month to pay respects. Every time I went there I would fall asleep, and when I came back, I would wake up 3 days later. How long did this go on for? Hua Feiyu thought for a moment and then said. Until now, it was not every month, but every year. He Shan snorted coldly. It seemed like his guess was right. It was an old ancestor of the Shadowless clan who wanted to reincarnate. Was the patriarch resurrected? Hua Feiyu was also surprised. Then a fiery light appeared in his eyes. When He Shan saw this, he sneered. It was foolish of you to think it was a good thing. After your ancestor revives, you will die and never fall into the cycle of reincarnation. You won't even have the chance to reincarnate. Do you think this is still a good opportunity? What? Hua Feiyu's body trembled, his heart falling into a 10,000-year ice cave. Would she die? Moreover, his body and soul had been destroyed, and he could not even reincarnate. This wasn't what she wanted. She wanted the Shadowless clan to become stronger. She wanted the Shadowless clan's ancestor to come back to life. But the premise of all this was that she had to be the beneficiary. Now if she died, then no matter how prosperous and powerful their family was, it would have nothing to do with her. This caused Hua Feiyu to feel a deep sense of fear. No. Impossible. Why would the family do this to me? Sacrificing you to revive an ancestor, and let the Shadowless clan prosper again. I think anyone would make such a choice. Lin Xian said coldly. No, I don't want to die. Hua Feiyu shook her head. She was only a few hundred years old. With her strength as a sage, she could still live for a few thousand years. Moreover, why should she be sacrificed? Kid, we are your saviors now. If we don't do anything, your yang qi and soul will be sucked dry within 10 years. Moreover, it seems that the one living in your body is only a split soul. The ancestor's corpse is still lying in your ancestral land. I guess your fate has already been chosen. It's impossible to resist. There's only death. Do you want us to help you end your life? He Shan's cold voice sounded. Hua Feiyu shook his head. I can't die. I don't want to die. I can escape from the Great Yin planet. Su Qin sneered. Can you escape the Shadowless clan's pursuit? The Shadowless clan's pursuit. Hua Feiyu's strength was instantly sucked dry. She knew how powerful her clan was. With her strength, it was impossible for her to escape. She would be caught before she could even escape from the Great Yin planet. However, she really didn't want to die. In the next moment, she saw Lin Xian. Plop. She knelt in front of Lin Xian. Save me. As long as you save me, I will be yours from now on. Although this method would make him lose his freedom, it would allow her to live. She completely gave up resisting. From now on you are my master. You can plant a slave seal in my soul. Seeing this, Lin Xian's lips curled into a smile. The insufferably arrogant princess of the Shadowless clan, Hua Feiyu, was now at his feet. It was different from before. Previously, she had lowered her head and admitted her mistake. But now she was kneeling at his feet and had become his slave. However, Lin Xian didn't plant a slave seal on her. He said coldly, I won't plant a slave seal on you. However, since you have submitted to me, you can never betray me. If you dare to betray me, even if you escape to the ends of the earth or the edge of the universe, I will catch you and tear you to pieces. I, Lin Xian, am a man of my words. There was a hint of confidence in his eyes. Yes, I definitely wouldn't dare. Hua Feiyu lowered her head deeply. Lin Xian nodded in satisfaction. Then he said, get up. He released a force. Light appeared on Hua Feiyu's body. A ball of armor appeared and wrapped around her delicate body. Then she asked, Young master, what are your plans next? I am very interested in your ancestor, so I plan to go to the Shadowless clan to take a look. The Shadowless clan's ancestral land? Hua Feiyu's body trembled. Deep fear appeared in her eyes. To be honest, she didn't want to go back in her life because she knew how terrifying that place was. She even hoped that Lin Xian would take her away from the Great Yin planet and go to any world. However, she didn't expect that Lin Xian would want to go to the Shadowless clan. She wanted to say something, But when she saw Lin Xian's cold and determined eyes, she knew that she couldn't persuade the man in front of her. So she could only say, "I understand. Young master, please come with me." Then Lin Xian removed the array and followed Hua Feiyu. The two left the Spirit Immortal Pavilion and soared into the sky. They flew into the distance. After they left, the people of the Spirit Immortal Pavilion heaved a sigh of relief. At the same time, they were very puzzled. What did Lin Xian and Hua Feiyu do in the array? They guessed that they couldn't figure it out. Chapter 3455. The Ancestral Land of the Shadowless Clan. This was the forbidden land of the Shadowless Clan. Only a small number of people could enter. Those who trespassed would be killed without mercy. Therefore, there was usually no one here. At this moment, an angry voice suddenly came from the ancestral land. It was as if a huge monster had come back to life. At this moment, the people of the Shadowless Clan all trembled. It was as if there was something in their souls that terrified them. The patriarch of the Shadowless Clan and the Supreme Elder's expressions changed instantly. What was going on? It seemed that something had happened to the ancestral land. The people in charge of guarding the ancestral land also returned. They were so scared that their faces turned pale. Patriarch, something bad has happened. The patriarch of the Shadowless Clan had a grim expression. Follow me to the secret room. They entered the secret room and asked, "What's going on?" "I don't know, but it seems that the old patriarch is angry." "The old patriarch is angry? What's going on?" The patriarch and the supreme elders were stunned. That shouldn't be. The old patriarch has always been asleep. Why would he be angry? Could it be that something had happened? One of the supreme elders had a grave expression. "This matter is too important. We should go there personally." All right, they hurried over. Then the patriarch of the Shadowless Clan personally walked in. Although he was the supreme ruler of the clan, he was as respectful as a child in the ancestral land. Trembling, he bowed and asked, "Greetings, old patriarch. May I know what has disturbed you?" There was a huge altar in front of him. Inside the altar, there was a black coffin. The black coffin was covered with runes, and there were countless formations around it. At this moment, a mysterious shadow appeared in the black coffin. The shadow said in a hoarse voice, "Damn it. The soul I planted, the seed I used to revive, was destroyed by someone. Who was it? Find him and cut him into pieces. At the same time, bring back the sacrifice. There can be no accidents." What? The seed was destroyed? The patriarch of the Shadowless Clan was shocked. No wonder the old patriarch was so angry. He said, "Don't worry, old patriarch. I'll do it right away." He turned into a ghost and rushed out in an instant. The senior elders outside were all waiting. When they saw that the family head had arrived, they all surrounded him. What exactly happened? Why was the old ancestor so angry? The Shadowless family head frowned. A seed planted by the old ancestor had been destroyed. How could this be? Could it be the seed inside Hua Feiyu's body? But that shouldn't be the case. In our Grandian planet, who can threaten Hua Feiyu? He didn't know. Could it be the Gu family? Someone frowned. However, there were also people who sneered. Gu clan? If it was the real Gu family, perhaps they would be very powerful and be able to discover the secret. However, the current Gu family is merely a branch. They are even inferior to us. How could they discover the secret of our ancestor? Then there is only one other possibility. That is that some peerless powerhouse of the universe has arrived at our Grand Spill planet. Perhaps he had met Hua Feiyu. No, we have to find him quickly and bring Hua Feiyu back safely. After discussing, the Shadowless family asked coldly, "Where is Hua Feiyu?" Suddenly, a shadow appeared beside him and knelt on one knee. At the Celestial Linxian Pavilion. Send someone to the Celestial Lin Pavilion to find out what happened. Also summon Hua Feiyu back. Yes. The Shadowless family moved out. After all, this matter was related to their old ancestor. They couldn't help but be nervous. At the same time, the Supreme Elder's eyes flashed. Who was it that could discover the secret of their old ancestor? No matter who this person was, they had to get rid of him. Otherwise, their Shadowless family would be in big trouble. On the other side, Lin Xian and Hua Feiyu left the Celestial Spirit Pavilion and quickly flew towards the Shadowless family. Along the way, Hua Feiyu led the way in front while Lin Xian followed behind without saying a word. In fact, he was communicating with Black Mountain through their souls. Brat, be careful. We've killed a strand of his soul. Maybe that existence already knows about it. Lin Xian said. I'm not worried about other things. I can handle it. However, if that old guy really revives, I'm afraid I won't be able to handle it. At that time, it will depend on you. Don't worry. As long as he is not a great emperor, I don't care about anything else. Black Mountain sneered. Indeed, he was already a great sage when he was alive, an existence second only to a great emperor. Therefore, even if there was an old immortal in the Shadowless family, he would not be afraid. Moreover, according to Black Mountain's analysis, that person should have died long ago. It was just that he had used some method to come back to life. Therefore, He Shan and Lin Xian wanted to test him this time. They wanted to see what method he had used to escape from the cycle of reincarnation. Although the Shadowless family was a family, it was an overlord in the Great Yin planet. Therefore, the entire Shadowless family was like a vast country. After flying for a while, they finally arrived at the edge of the Shadowless family. Hua Feiyu turned around and said, Young master, we have arrived at the edge of the family. However, our family's sphere of influence is bigger. It will take a long time to reach the core area. Should I use the family's array to teleport us over? No need. Lin Xian said indifferently. Hua Feiyu was stunned. He thought that Lin Xian was going to fly over, but Lin Xian said that someone had found them. What? Hua Feiyu probed with his soul power. Indeed, in the next moment he frowned. This was because he realized that there were a few figures flying over from afar. He was actually familiar with that person. Oh, isn't this Sister Feiyu? Aren't you at the Celestial Lin Pavilion? Why are you here? Great, the family is looking for you. Come back with me. It was a woman's voice. Before the voice had completely disappeared, the figure had already appeared. It was also a beautiful woman. Her appearance was similar to Hua Feiyu, but she was more enchanting. She didn't come alone. Behind her, there were 9 other figures. The 9 figures were very powerful. At this moment, their expressions were incomparably dignified. However, the enchanting woman in front had a cold smile on her face. Is that so? I'm going back too. Men, bring me my sacred beast and chariot. Hua Feiyu said. Her status in the Shadowless family was not ordinary. Therefore, when she went out or returned home, it was very ostentatious. Her spirit boat and chariot were of very high grade. They might even surpass the existence of a half-step sacred tool. Moreover, every time, there would be some powerful half-step sacred beast pulling her chariot. This would show how powerful the Shadowless clan was, and at the same time, it would show her supreme status. Hearing Hua Feiyu's words, the enchanting woman laughed. Chapter 3456. Sister Feiyu, you're really extravagant as usual. Unfortunately, there's nothing today. You'd better follow me back. Speaking of this, he took out the spirit boat, which was decorated very luxuriously. Follow her back? Hua Feiyu frowned when she saw her reaction. Seems like you've become so reckless after not being taught a lesson for a few days? Hua Feiyu, you're too full of yourself. Do you really think that you can still be so arrogant now? The enchanting woman sneered as a vicious look appeared in her eyes. To be honest, the battle between the big families was very cruel. Although they were all from the same family, Hua Feiyu's treatment since she was young was much better than theirs. It was rumored that Hua Feiyu was the next successor of the Shadowless family. This made the others extremely jealous. Therefore, the enchanting woman was very happy to see Hua Feiyu's miserable end. Don't think about the treatment of the successor. It's still a matter of whether you can survive or not. The family has already given the order to find you and take you back. Torture and interrogation. Therefore, you're now a prisoner. On account of my sister, I've given you some face and didn't arrest you directly. If you dare to be arrogant in front of me again, do you believe that'll get someone to seal you and bring you back? Hearing such sarcastic words, Hua Feiyu's face darkened completely. Her delicate body was trembling. To be honest, she had always been high and mighty in the family like a princess. No one dared to provoke her. The younger generation didn't dare to, but the older generation loved her very much. For something like this, she would have tortured them to death long ago. Previously, she thought that it was because of her talent that she could win the love of the grand elders and the family. But now, she knew that it wasn't like that at all. It was because these people wanted to use her body to revive the ancestor. That was why she was praised to the heavens. However, the huge difference in status made Hua Feiyu unable to accept it. What's wrong? Do you feel terrible? Do you want to kill me? Unfortunately, you don't have the right. From now on, you're a prisoner. You'd better kneel down and beg me. Maybe I can torture you less on the way back. Otherwise, I can guarantee that when we return to the clan, I will let you have a taste of a fate worse than death. The enchanting woman lazily leaned on the jade couch as her voice was incomparably cold. He had to torture this little princess. You. Hua Feiyu trembled in anger. A terrifying aura rose from her body, and she was about to attack. However, in the next moment, she was stunned. That was because a piercingly cold sword chi flew past her. A beam of light streaked across the sky and instantly enveloped the enchanting woman. "Aha!" Miserable cry rang out, and then the entire sky was split open. How noisy! Lin Xian flicked his finger. He was the one who had shot out the sword chi. He had a purpose for coming here. How could he listen to the nonsense of a little ant? Hua Feiyu's eyelids twitched, and that fear appeared again. In the distance, the 9 experts were stunned. One of their sisters had died. How was this possible? Who was this person? How dare he kill a member of the Shadowless clan? These people's minds were a little blank. Previously, they had thought that Lin Xian was Hua Feiyu's friend, but they did not pay much attention to it. Now, it seemed that was not the case. A friend dared to touch a member of the Shadowless clan? However, no matter who this kid was, he was dead for daring to touch a member of the Shadowless clan. He was courting death. One of them roared angrily and slammed his palm over. The others also pulled out their weapons one after another. A terrifying attack flew towards Lin Xian. Lin Xian sneered. They did not know what was good for them. These ants were nothing in front of him. A beam of sword chi rose from his finger and flew in all directions. The sword chi was very bright and carried the power of the 5 elemental laws. It instantly enveloped those people. With a poof, the 9 people were cut into pieces by the sword chi, and all kinds of miserable cries rang out. Then Lin Xian stretched out his golden hand, which carried a terrifying divine fire, and directly burned the bodies of the 9 people clean. In the blink of an eye, these people were annihilated by him. Beside him, Hua Feiyu was shocked. She felt that she was numb, but when she saw Lin Xian attack again, she was still terrified. He was too strong. No wonder he dared to call himself Lin Wudi. Lin Xian glanced at Hua Feiyu and said, "Why? Are you still worried? The safety of the Shadowless clan? Based on the current situation, the Shadowless clan has already started to capture you. You should worry about your own safety first." Hearing this, Hua Feiyu's face changed instantly. Indeed, her clan must have found out about her. Otherwise, her cousin would not have dared to treat her like this. It seemed that her clan was determined to capture her. Since that was the case, why should she worry about her clan's safety? "Sir, don't worry. I am now your servant and have nothing to do with the Shadowless clan." Hua Feiyu seemed to have made a decision. "Very good. Soon, you will be grateful for your decision," Lin Xian said indifferently. Then he said, "Let's go. Lead the way to the ancestral land of the Shadowless clan." Lin Xian waved his hand and the seductive woman's body was evaporated. Then he grabbed the spiritual boat forcefully. He and Hua Feiyu sat on it, and Hua Feiyu started to control the spiritual boat. They headed towards the Shadowless clan quickly. At the same time, the entire Shadowless clan started to move. Many of them came back to report that they had found Hua Feiyu's whereabouts. Someone had already gone to capture Hua Feiyu. "You must bring her back. You must capture her alive and try not to hurt her. Also send more people. We still don't know who helped Hua Feiyu remove the seed in her body. However, to be able to discover Hua Feiyu's secret, it must be an expert. If necessary, send more sages. Yes, we will go and prepare now." A few of the elders also stood up and prepared to head over to Sealine Feiyu. However, just as they stood up, their bodies swayed and they almost fell. At the same time, a thunderous sound was heard. Boom. The sound was so terrifying that the entire Shadowless clan shook violently. Why? Is there an earthquake? How is that possible? We are in the spirit vein. Why would there be an earthquake? What is going on? The elders and experts in the main hall were all stunned. Outside, a few guards rushed in madly. They knelt on the ground and reported, "Oh no, someone is attacking us. Our clan's defensive array has been split open." Chapter 3457. What? The people in the hall were all stunned. Their defensive array had been split open. What was going on? The Shadowless clan was an overlord. Who would dare to provoke them? Moreover, their defensive array was so powerful that even a sage could not break it open. Now someone had actually split it open. Who was it? Had the other top clans joined forces to attack them? If those clans had joined forces, it might have been possible. However, a few guards came over and said in horror, "No, it's Princess Huafeiyu. She's back." What? Huafeiyu? She's back. Wait, who's with her? Is someone threatening her? One of the elders shouted coldly. Perhaps it was that mysterious expert who had made a move. The guard hurriedly said, "Princess Huafeiyu was not threatened, but there was indeed a person following beside her. It was a very beautiful young man." A young man. In the main hall, the elders were all stunned. If it was a very powerful elder, they would believe it. But what was going on with the young man? At this moment, an elder said coldly, perhaps it was just a young man who had lived for a few thousand years. Indeed, these subordinates did not have good eyesight and might not be able to recognize that expert. Let's go out and take a look. Humph! How dare you come to our Shadowless clan and behave so atrociously? No matter who you are, you won't be able to leave. These people sneered. Among them, the head of the Shadowless clan stood up and walked forward with large strides. Behind him, the elders and experts all followed. They wanted to see who dared to behave atrociously in front of the Shadowless clan. In the core area of the Shadowless clan, there was a huge array. At this moment, the array had been split into two and the spatial crack would not heal for a long time. The large crack made the Shadowless clan's experts inside feel numb. At this moment, two figures were standing outside the formation. They were Lin Xian and Huafeiyu. Lin Xian and Huafeiyu had arrived at the core area. Then Lin Xian used his peerless swordsmanship, 9 suns open the sky, to split open the array. This caused the scene just now. At this moment, countless members of the Shadowless clan rushed out of the defensive formation. They were densely packed like ghosts as they attacked at high speed. There were even some people who completely surrounded Lin Xian and Lin Xian. Seeing this, Huafeiyu's face turned ugly. Although she was also a saint, in the face of such an earth-shattering attack, as well as those elders and experts, she simply could not withstand it. She looked worriedly at Lin Xian, but Lin Xian just stood there with his hands clasped behind his back. His eyes were narrowed, and he looked incomparably calm. He was different from Huafeiyu. He was not a flower that grew up in a greenhouse. He had fought his way up step by step. It could be said that he had been through hundreds of battles, and there was nothing that he had not seen before. The people who came out now were not enough to move him. Let's go. I think the people inside already know. Let's go and meet them. Lin Xian walked straight ahead. Huafeiyu's scalp went numb, but he still followed closely behind. Now Lin Xian was her life-saving straw. Without Lin Xian, she would not be able to withstand the anger of the Shadowless clan. Therefore, she could only follow Lin Xian in. Kill. Around them, the experts of the Shadowless clan roared crazily. First, the person before them had broken through their defensive formation. Now he had acted so recklessly and dared to enter their core region. It really made them furious. In an instant, all the members of the Shadowless clan around them moved. In the sky, countless energy surged, densely packed, and rushed toward Lin Xian. Flames appeared one after another on Lin Xian's body, forming patterns that were abnormally terrifying. The god of 9 suns' body bloomed, and at the same time, the divine fire formed an illusion of a giant, enveloping him and Huafeiyu. The giant followed Lin Xian's footsteps and also walked forward. Around them, all the attacks of the Shadowless clan hit the Golden Giant, causing an earth-shattering riot. However, they could not shake the Golden Giant at all. In this way, Lin Xian directly entered the core area of the Shadowless clan. How is that possible? How can he block so many attacks? The surrounding members of the Shadowless clan were all stunned. With so many of them attacking, even a saint would be injured, right? Kill. Many people directly moved. They did not attack from afar, but directly closed in. They were like shadows, and in an instant, more than a dozen figures came in front of Lin Xian. The weapons in their hands stabbed at his vital points. The other party's divine ability was powerful, but his body would definitely not be able to block their attacks. Boom, boom, boom. More than a dozen knives, swords, and daggers, flashing with demonic light, slashed fiercely on Lin Xian's body, causing countless thunderous sounds. Flames splashed, and the void shattered. This force was too powerful, and it could destroy everything. Hee die kid. They revealed sinister smiles. Soon their smiles froze, and they became frightened. He was not injured. They screamed like crazy. Lin Xian did not even turn his head. He pushed his hand, and the huge golden hand with the power of stormy waves directly pushed in all directions. The bodies of more than a dozen Shadowless clan powerhouses around him instantly exploded. At the same time, Lin Xian controlled the Golden Giant to take a step forward, and at the same time, its hands danced like two huge mountains. The surrounding Shadowless clan powerhouses were either stomped to death or sent flying. In an instant, screams rang out, and the ground and wind shook. It was a scene of destruction. Hua Feiyu followed behind, her face full of shock. This scene was too shocking. This was the Shadowless clan, the core area of the Shadowless clan. Who would dare to behave atrociously here? But now a young man was killing in all directions. Countless corpses of the Shadowless clan powerhouses fell, and the sea of blood surged, turning into hell. No one dared to move forward. Those who were still alive stood far away, their bodies trembling. They moved with Lin Xian, but no one dared to make a move. Damn it! A group of people walked out of the hall in the distance. Originally, they were aggressive and had cold smiles on their faces. They wanted to see who dared to be impudent. When they arrived, they saw a mountain of corpses and a sea of blood in front of them. Those who had died were all the elites of the Shadowless clan. Immediately the elders screamed. Damn it, who is it? Who dares to kill so many of our elites? In their eyes, piercing cold runes burst out, and a terrifying light pierced through the void, staring at the two figures standing in front of them. Hua Feiyu. Damn it, you bitch, how dare you attack the clan? One of the elders rushed over in an instant. His speed was extremely fast, and he arrived in front of them in an instant. A black dagger appeared in his hand, and it carried an extremely terrifying poison. This was a poison technique that was refined with the blood of 3 demonic saints. It was extremely terrifying. The cold dagger slashed forward. The morning update was late. I'm very sorry. I hope everyone can support me. Chapter 3458. Everything happened so quickly that the Shadowless clan members could not react in time. When they did, they screamed, "Don't kill her, just capture her." They were still afraid that their experts would hurt Hua Feiyu. However, it was obvious that they were overthinking. Hua Feiyu took 2 steps back and retreated behind Lin Xian. Lin Xian threw out a punch. His fist shone brightly and Dao patterns surrounded it. It was like a god's fist as it blasted toward the Shadowless clan's expert. Boom. There was an intense collision and then the void exploded. A figure flew out. It was the Shadowless clan's expert. Both of his hands were broken, and there was a hole in his body. His internal organs were all shattered. The people behind were stunned and their hearts were filled with shock. That was a sage. But he was easily defeated by the other party. Who was this young man in front of them? Damn it, who are you? Hua Feiyu. How dare you join forces with outsiders to attack the clan? On the other side, there was a series of crazy roars. Clan, are you also my clansman? What did you do to my body? Hua Feiyu's voice was hoarse. You have already planned to sacrifice me. Why should I care about the clan? Every man for himself. Since you forced me, Don't blame me for being ruthless. Hua Feiyu's eyes were filled with determination. He had to live. He had to live. Damn it, Hua Feiyu, as a member of the Shadowless clan, you naturally have to sacrifice for the Shadowless clan. It is your good fortune to be chosen by the Patriarch. Hurry up and kneel down and admit your mistake. We will spare your life and let bygones be bygones. Otherwise, you will have to bear the anger of the entire clan. You don't have to threaten me. I have a new master now. I will listen to whatever the master says. Hua Feiyu looked at Lin Xian. On the other side, the Shadowless clan members were all sealed. Master? The genius that they had painstakingly nurtured had become someone else's slave? This made their lungs explode with anger. In an instant, countless eyes looked at Lin Xian. Their eyes were filled with killing intent. Damn brat, who the hell are you? Get over here and die. I will tear you into pieces. These people were mad with anger. Lin Xian coldly snorted. I'm here to investigate the ancestral land of your Shadowless clan. If you don't want to die, get out of my way. What? Were they here to plot against their ancestral land? These people were stunned for a moment before they flew into a rage. Could it be that they were here for their patriarch? Damn it, kill him. I must kill him. He could not allow him to threaten the old ancestor. All of a sudden, the members of the Shadowless clan all rushed towards Lin Xian. On Lin Xian's body, the 5 elemental laws emanated and wrapped around his arms. Then he slashed in all directions. The 9-yang sword technique was incomparably terrifying when used by him. Those Shadowless clan members were all sent flying. Even the saints of the first heaven were unable to get close. What about the array formation? Use the killing array to kill him. The family head roared. The people around him were casting formations. Countless formations were stacked on top of each other. However, Lin Xian let out a long roar. He opened the sky with both hands, and the sword chi on his body swept across the 9 heavens and 10 lands, shattering all the sword techniques. At the same time, he used the aqua tide. A terrifying light appeared in his eyes, and his pupil technique spread out in all directions. The surrounding Shadowless clan members all held their heads and screamed. The weaker ones had their souls directly destroyed. Even the sages' faces were pale and filled with fear. In an instant, the Shadowless clan members were all stunned. A young man was actually suppressing them to the point that they could not even raise their heads? Who was this person? Who dared to cause trouble in the Shadowless clan? A cold voice sounded between heaven and earth. Then the void split open, and an old man walked out. When they saw the old man, many people cheered. It was the Grand Elder. Grand Elder, please attack. Kill him, Grand Elder. You must kill him. He actually killed so many of our elites. And that Hua Feiyu, Grand Elder, you must suppress her. Countless people prostrated on the ground. The Grand Elder's gaze darkened as he looked at Lin Xian and Hua Feiyu. He did not say anything. His palm covered the sky and the earth, grabbing towards the two of them. Hua Feiyu's face became incomparably pale. Young master, this is not good. This is the Grand Elder, a level 2 saint. A level 2 saint? Lin Xian sneered. He waved his hand, and the 5 elemental laws revolved, forming the 5 elemental wheel, and rushed forward. This was a weapon formed by the 5 elemental laws. It was extremely terrifying, and it was like a death scythe in the sky, slashing across the sky. Boom, boom, boom. Cracks appeared between heaven and earth, and the surrounding space was constantly shattering. The Shadowless clan members also frantically retreated. In front of them, it was a scene of destruction. However, the Shadowless clan members were extremely excited. They knew that the Grand Elder who attacked them was an elder in the late stage of the second heaven. He was extremely powerful. With him attacking, they could definitely destroy the strong enemy. The other party would definitely not survive. Just like that, they waited patiently. The light in front of them gradually dimmed, and the cracks also disappeared. However, soon they were all stunned. The reason for that was because they discovered that 2 figures had appeared. How could this be? The Shadowless clan members were dumbfounded. They kept slapping their faces, thinking that they had fallen into an illusion. The other party was fine. How could he not be dead? That was the attack of a level 2 elder. Hua Feiyu was also stunned. To be honest, the attack just now had made her feel despair. She thought that Lin Xian would not be able to block the Grand Elder's attack. But now, it seemed that she had thought too much. The young man in front of her dared to come to the Shadowless clan, which meant that he had enough means. What Grand Elder? He was just SOSO. Kneel on the ground obediently and submit to me, and I will not kill you. My target is your ancestral land. Otherwise, if you dare to stop me again, I will send you on your way. Lin Xian looked forward and said indifferently. Once these words came out, the Shadowless clan members in the distance went crazy. Threat, someone actually dared to threaten their Grand Elder. He was too daring. Kid, you have thoroughly angered me. I will let you taste the feeling of living a life worse than death. The Grand Elder rushed over and began to attack crazily. His heart was filled with anger. A young kid dared to threaten him. This was intolerable. Shadow Sacred Domain, go to hell. The Grand Elder shouted, and the Sacred Domain rushed out and enveloped Lin Xian. Countless shadows appeared and pounced on Lin Xian. Each attack could easily kill a level 1 saint. Lin Xian's eyes shone with an unparalleled light. His fists swept out in all directions, and the powerful force tore apart all the shadows that came close to him. Even the Sacred Domain was trembling from his attacks. However, at this moment, that utmost exalted elder let out a long shout. The entire Sacred Domain suddenly shrank and disappeared. Lin Xian's face changed. His body stiffened as if he had been fixed in the void. Ha 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 ha, kid, you have been hit by my Shadowless technique. Let's see how you will die. Chapter 3459. Not good. Hua Feiyu's face became very ugly, and the people of the Shadowless clan in the distance all started laughing, because they knew that the other party was dead meat. Sure enough, Lin Xian was motionless in the air, as if he had been frozen. Under his feet, his shadow was strangely entangled by the other's shadow. Young master, be careful. This was a shadow technique and he couldn't control it. Hua Feiyu screamed. He also knew this kind of shadow technique. It was the ultimate technique of the Shadowless clan. As long as he could entangle the opponent's shadow, he could force the opponent to do anything. For example, right now, the Grand Elder raised his hand and controlled the shadow to stab at Lin Xian's heart and head. Whoa. Lin Xian's hand was pulled up by the shadow, and he was about to commit suicide. No. Hua Feiyu closed his eyes, he felt despair. Was Lin Xian really going to die here? If Lin Xian died, her fate would be very miserable. Lin Xian seemed to have been controlled. The hand was getting closer and closer to his forehead. If it pierced through, even if he didn't die, he would be seriously injured. The Grand Elder revealed a sinister smile. To fight with him, the other party was too weak. Shadow technique? It was indeed strange, but unfortunately, it was useless against me. Just as Lin Xian's hand was about to touch his forehead, he stopped and sneered. What's going on? Why did he stop? The Grand Elder was stunned and hurriedly controlled the shadow. He wanted to speed up, but the other party did not commit suicide at all. Instead, he stopped there. No matter how hard the shadow tried to pull him, he did not move at all. How could this be? Impossible. Could it be that it had failed? The Supreme Elder's expression changed. The people of the Shadowless clan were also shocked. Hua Feiyu was also stunned. Lin Xian's body shook. The Nine-Yang divine body emitted millions of rays of light as a sword chi tore apart all the shadows on his body. It was useless. Xian walked forward and his aura grew stronger and stronger. Not good. The Grand Elder's face turned completely gloomy. His secret technique was actually ineffective against the other party. Humph. He snorted coldly. It seemed that he could only use other secret techniques to deal with this brat. He raised his hand and shot out several streaks of void. Not good, it's the invisible needle. Young master, be careful. Hua Feiyu screamed again from behind. The Shadowless needle was a top-notch hidden weapon. Furthermore, it was coated with poison. Even saints would die if they were hit by it. If he was stabbed, he would be in danger. Boom. Lin Xian stomped his foot, and the sword chi on his body flickered as he deflected the Shadowless needle. At the same time, he used stellar transposition to send the Shadowless needles flying with even more terrifying power. He rushed towards the Grand Elder. The Supreme Elder issued a command and hurriedly dodged. Damn it! What the hell is going on? Humph, Supreme Elder? That was all there was to it. Now this battle was over. Lin Xian's expression was incomparably solemn. He felt that there was no need to continue fighting with his opponent. Therefore, he pulled out the Spear of Great Destruction. The Great Dragon Sword Soul was also activated. Like a long dragon, it pierced forward. What? How terrifying! The combination of the two forces caused heaven and earth to continuously shatter. The people of the Shadowless clan were all stunned. Even the Supreme Elder's expression became incomparably ugly. This aura made him feel terrified. Damn it, block it for me. He waved his hands and attacked fiercely in front of him. At this moment he did not hold back at all. At the same time, his body became void and completely disappeared into the void. The Shadowless clan might not be the strongest in a head-on battle, but in terms of hiding, escaping and assassination, they were definitely the most confident. You can't escape. Lin Xian's eyes flickered with golden light. He used the Kuan Prung movement technique and dodged the Supreme Elder's full-powered attack. Then the Spear of Great Destruction danced and pierced into the void. Then the void shattered, and a figure was nailed in the void. His body was pierced by the Spear of Great Destruction, and his saint blood dyed the void red. The Supreme Elder's heart was pierced, and he kept screaming in the air. A saint artifact! Damn it, that's a saint artifact! How can you have such a thing in your hands? The Supreme Elder had gone crazy. However, he was strong. Although he was nailed, he could still fight back. Die for me. A dark golden dagger appeared in his hand, and he stabbed at Lin Xian's neck. Although it was not a saint artifact, its power was still very terrifying. Stellar transposition. Lin Xian waved, and the dark golden dagger was directly transferred to the Supreme Elder's body. With a slash, the Supreme Elder's head was cut off. His face was full of horror and disbelief. However, in the next moment he screamed. Because Lin Xian did not stop. Blue tide rising. The Supreme Elder, who was attacking Ling Hunzi, screamed crazily. Lin Xian used the Spear of Great Destruction, and shot out a few dragon-shaped sword chi, completely shattering the Supreme Elder's body. The aura of the Great Dragon Sword Soul made it impossible for the Supreme Elder to heal in a short time. Boom. The Nine-Yang divine body turned into a giant and stepped on the Supreme Elder's broken body. Lin Xian was like a peerless tyrant, looking down on the world. Everyone around was stunned. Hua Feiyu looked at the scene with her eyes wide open. Was this Lin Wudi? He was too strong. In the distance, the people of the Shadowless clan were terrified. They were trembling. Even the Supreme Elder was suppressed by the other party. The Supreme Elder's body was being stepped on by the Golden Foot, and he could not resist at all. At the same time, there was a look of horror in his eyes. Such a young person could have such a terrifying sword chi, and such a terrifying physique. Also, there was a pitch-black weapon that emitted demonic chi. He finally guessed who the other party was. In all the worlds, there was only one such young person, and that was Lin Wudi. Lin Wudi was in the Shadowless clan. He could not believe it. On the opposite side, the Shadowless clan's patriarch and elders were also terrified. The Supreme Elder was an existence that they looked up to. But now such an existence was being stepped on by the foot of the other party. It was as if this foot was just stepping on the Supreme Elder, and even their confidence and arrogance had been trampled on. He knew that the person in front of him was a peerless enemy, and he had to activate the foundation of the Shadowless clan. Otherwise, they would not be able to fight back with just their strength. Therefore he roared, "Hurry up and activate the last line of defense, and release our foundation." Not good. Hua Feiyu's face changed again. The foundation of the Shadowless clan was absolutely terrifying. That was the foundation of the Shadowless clan. She looked at Lin Xian, but saw that Lin Xian did not care. In fact, Lin Xian was currently transmitting a message to ask, "Hey Shan, is there a problem?" Hey Shan laughed. "Don't worry, I've already made arrangements. They will not be able to contact me." Chapter 3460. Soon, the people of the Shadowless clan began to scream in agony. "Oh no, we can't awaken the living fossil. We can't seem to contact our foundation." Countless screams were heard. The patriarch of the Shadowless clan trembled and spat out 3 mouthfuls of blood. He seemed to have aged 1,000 years in an instant. There shouldn't be a problem with their family's foundation. They couldn't contact their foundation because the young man in front of them had done something. When did he do it? He didn't know. He knew that he had underestimated the young man. The next moment he sighed. Young master, please stop. We've surrendered. You can tell us what you want. Ancestral land. The faces of the experts of the Shadowless clan changed. The elders also sucked in a breath of cold air. Their faces were filled with disbelief. However, the patriarch of the Shadowless clan gave them a look and transmitted his voice. Doesn't he want to enter the ancestral land? Don't you know how strong our patriarch is? That kid will definitely die. As soon as these words came out, the surrounding elders were stunned. Then they all breathed a sigh of relief. Indeed, they didn't let the other party enter not because they were worried about their patriarch, but because they felt that they had been humiliated. They were one of the top clans, and their ancestral land was a sacred place. Even their own clansmen didn't have the qualifications to enter. How could they tolerate an outsider suddenly coming over and saying that they would enter alone? But now, they had to. It seemed that this was the only way to trick the other party into entering the ancestral land. Then let the patriarch personally deal with the other party. Hua Feiyu couldn't believe that his clan had risen and fallen. This scene was like a dream. Lin Xian's lips curled into a smile. I'm not interested in you guys. I'm here to find your ancestral land. Lead the way. Don't worry, as long as you don't do anything and lead the way, I won't kill the Shadowless clan. The ancestral land of the Shadowless clan was a forbidden area. Other than the patriarch and a few high-ranking elders, as well as the supreme elder, the others had never entered at all. Therefore, at this moment, their faces were full of curiosity. What does this person want to do in their ancestral land? Everyone followed the patriarch and headed toward the ancestral land. Lin Xian strode forward. He was like a god. Wherever he passed, no one dared to stop him. After passing through layers upon layers of defensive formations, they finally arrived at the deepest region. This was the forbidden area of the clan. In front of him, there were more than 10 huge mountain ranges. In the middle of the mountain range, there was an ancient cave. 2 simple and unadorned doors were tightly shut. On it were the most exquisite Dao patterns. A mysterious aura pervaded the air. Young master, I'll bring you there now, the patriarch of the Shadowless clan said respectfully. At the same time, he said to the people around him, this is the clan's forbidden area. You can only stay outside and no one is allowed to enter. Trespassers will be killed without mercy. The surrounding Shadowless clan members could only agree. Facing that door, they didn't dare to cross it. Lin Xian nodded and then said to Hua Feiyu, you also wait here. Don't worry, no one will dare to touch you. Yes. Hua Feiyu nodded. Although her face was a little pale, she still waited there obediently. She did not dare to resist now. Everyone was waiting. Their gazes were all on the front. Lin Xian followed the patriarch of the Shadowless clan and walked forward. Boom, boom, boom. The ancient doors were slowly pushed open, revealing the darkness inside. Lin Xian did not hesitate at all and walked in directly. Boom. After the two of them entered, the ancient doors slowly closed. Not even a trace of light shone through. After entering, the aura inside was even more strange. Lin Xian frowned. This feeling made him very uncomfortable. It was as if this was a place of the dead. The aura of death was constantly trying to devour his flesh and blood. He snorted coldly. The sword will in his body circulated, isolating the aura of the dead. At the same time he squinted his eyes. Golden light flashed as he looked around. This place was very old. At first glance he could tell that it was very old. This kind of building could not be seen anywhere except in some ancient ruins. What attracted him the most was a huge altar in front of him. On the altar, there was a black coffin. The aura of death was the most dignified there. Just as Lin Xian was admiring the tea, the leader of the Shadowless clan knelt on the ground with a plop and said respectfully, this disciple is unfilial. Please, patriarch. Whoosh! A black storm seemed to blow around them, bringing with it a gloomy aura. Lin Xian snorted coldly. A layer of sword qi covered his body, isolating him from the black storm. In front of him, The shadowless patriarch's body trembled. The next moment he opened his eyes. Black light flowed in his eyes. The black storm around him disappeared. He stood up and turned to look at Lin Xian. Although he still looked the same, his aura and gaze were completely different from before. It was an aura that looked down on the world and looked down on everything. It was as if he did not take anyone seriously at all. Lin Xian frowned. He felt that the shadowless patriarch seemed to be a different person. He was indeed arrogant. If he was careful, he was no longer the patriarch of the shadowless clan. He was probably being controlled by their patriarch. Lin Xian was on guard. Black light flashed in the shadowless patriarch's eyes. Who are you? Why have you come to see me? Are you the patriarch of the shadowless clan? I'm curious. How can someone who has been dead for who knows how many tens of thousands of years still be alive? The shadowless patriarch's pupil shrank. The black light in his eyes became even more terrifying. A black storm rose from his body and swept through the 9 heavens. It was as if countless demons were dancing in the sky. That aura was too terrifying. It seemed to want to tear Lin Xian apart. Lin Xian snorted coldly. His body shone brightly like the sun in the night. At the same time, sword chi surrounded him, shattering the black storm around him. It seems that my guess was right. You shouldn't exist in this world. Tell me your secret and I can spare your life. Otherwise, it'll destroy your body and soul, and make you disappear completely. Destroy my body and soul, and make me disappear completely? The shadowless patriarch laughed loudly. You're just an ant. How dare you be so arrogant in front of me? But I'm curious. Who are you? How dare you know my secret? Lin Xian had heard a lot about the shadowless patriarch from He Shan, so he sneered. Is it that hard to guess your secret? You've been dead for many years, but you've planted a part of your soul in someone else's body. You used your soul to raise a corpse in an attempt to escape the 6 paths of reincarnation. You did it secretly, but you can't fool me. It seems that you know a lot. What else do you know? The shadowless patriarch didn't attack immediately. He seemed to be trying to confirm who Lin Xian was. Which force was he? He was trying to figure him out. Chapter 3461. I also know that you're struggling at death's door. You probably can't even leave this cave, so you can only send some of your soul into a junior's body. You seem strong now, but it's just a bluff. Your true strength is only SOSO, so don't try to fight me. Otherwise, you'll definitely die. It seems that you know a lot. Since that's the case, I can't let you leave here alive. Shadowless Ancestor's expression was ferocious. His secret couldn't be leaked, so Lin Fan had to die. A terrifying aura appeared on his body. A black storm circled around him, and countless black laws surged between heaven and earth. The terrifying power could tear everything apart. You're just a soul. You can't use much power. Do you really think you're still at your peak? Lin Xian sneered. The sword chi on his body became even more terrifying. Buzz. A large black hand reached out from the black storm. It carried countless laws and shrouded forward. It seemed that it wanted to grab Lin Xian and crush him. Boom. 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 Lin Xian pulled out the spear of destruction and slashed forward with several sword chi. Sword chi spun in the sky one after another, as if it was going to split the sky and earth apart. Boom. 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 The death chi was cut apart. Shadowless Ancestor's body shook. He was shocked. Indeed, he wasn't at his peak anymore, but he still couldn't be blocked by a kid. Had already checked Lin Fan. He was a level 1 saint, and an early one at that. It seemed that Lin Fan had just become a saint. Such a person was like an ant in front of him. But now Lin Fan's swordsmanship was beyond his expectations. Interesting. No wonder you can come here. It seems that you're a genius who can fight above your level. Unfortunately, I don't take a genius like you seriously. Young man, I can only say that you don't know the immensity of heaven and earth. My strength isn't something you can guess. As he spoke, the death chi on his body became even more terrifying. The laws danced, forming a door of death. Now your life is mine. Looking at your body, it should be some kind of strong body. Your flesh is a great supplement for me. Shadowless laughed. The gate of death in the sky blossomed with a jet black light. The eerie ghostly aura pressed down, as if it was really going to swallow Lin Xian whole. The aura on it could instantly turn a sage into a dried corpse. Lin Xian held the Great Destruction Spear and drew a strange arc in the sky. He used stellar transposition. Immediately, the death energy flew to the side under the stellar transposition. None of it could get close to him. How dare you have designs on me? You're really courting death. I'll also show you my strength. Lin Xian snorted coldly and waved the Great Destruction Spear, shooting out an incomparably cold sword chi. Streaks of sword chi blossomed with resplendent light, and a powerful aura slashed forward. Outside the ancestral land, countless members of the Shadowless family were waiting anxiously. Why hadn't the clan chief come out after such a long time? Could it be that something went wrong? How is that possible? Our old ancestor is inside. That kind of existence is enough to suppress everything. No matter how powerful that kid is, he's no match for Rat. Indeed, when they thought of their old ancestor, they all breathed a sigh of relief and then sneered. That kid had probably been killed by now. Many of them looked at Hua Feiyu and sneered. When the clan chief came out later, they would teach Hua Feiyu a lesson. They would let her know the consequences of betraying the family. Hua Feiyu's body was cold and her scalp was numb. To be honest, she was about to lose all hope. Could Lin Xian really withstand it? That was the old ancestor of the Shadowless family. What a terrifying existence. Once Lin Xian was killed, what awaited her would be a fate worse than death. She felt that she could barely stand. However, at this moment, the ancestral land in front of her started to shake. There was a muffled sound like thunder, and the surrounding ground kept shaking. What was going on? Was it an earthquake? No, the shaking was coming from the ancestral land. The surrounding people screamed like crazy. Their eyes were fixed on the cave abode in front of them, and their eyes were full of disbelief. Why would there be such a situation in the ancestral land? It should be known that the ancestral land had not had any energy fluctuations for many years. But now, the fluctuations were getting more and more intense. Could it be that the people inside were fighting? They sucked in a breath of cold air. Hua Feiyu was taken aback, and a glimmer of hope appeared on her pale face. It seemed that Lin Wudi was really fighting with their old ancestor. This meant that Lin Wudi was not dead yet. Thinking of this, she clenched her fists and prayed in her heart that Lin Wudi must win. Boom, boom, boom. The sound was getting louder and louder, and countless cracks appeared all around, and the ancestral land was shaking more and more. Finally, with a loud bang, the two simple and unadorned doors were torn apart, and a figure flew out. Following that, another person rushed over like a bolt of lightning. I've said before, you're just a person who shouldn't exist, and you're not in your peak state. Do you really think I can't do anything to you? Lin Xian's sword chi soared to the sky, and the Great Destruction Spear was unparalleled. The person opposite him, on the other hand, had disheveled hair like a demon, and a black aura was billowing from his body. Outside, the Shadowless clan was all stunned. They recognized that the powerful person was Lin Wudi. The disheveled one was their clan leader. But at this moment, the aura of their clan leader was completely different from before. Not only was he stronger, but his yin chi was deep and cold, and it made their hair stand on end. Some of them exclaimed. It was not their clan leader, but their old ancestor. The soul of their old ancestor was controlling their clan leader's body. Basically, their old ancestor was resurrected. But what frightened them was that their old ancestor was actually beaten out, and he seemed to be at a disadvantage. They could not believe it. Was the young man opposite them already so terrifying? The Shadowless clan was going crazy. Hua Feiyu was also stunned, but then she was overjoyed. Great, she had made the right bet. Is this our old ancestor? Impossible. Why is our old ancestor being suppressed? Many of the Shadowless clan members screamed like crazy. However, several elders roared angrily. Among them, one of them said coldly, "Shut up, all of you. What do you know? This is just a wisp of our old ancestor's soul. Don't worry, even a wisp of soul can kill him. Because our old ancestor was a saint king when he was alive." Thank you, users. Reward. The love that you missed all those years. Reward. User tipped. Reward. 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 Thank you for your monthly votes and recommendation votes. Please support. Chapter 3462. His voice spread clearly in all directions, and the shadowless family gradually calmed down. At the same time, they were more excited than ever. They knew that there was a terrifying being in their family's ancestral land, and no one was allowed to enter. But they didn't expect it to be their patriarch. And this patriarch was still alive. More importantly, this old ancestor was the pinnacle existence that was still alive back then. He was the Sage King. That was a Sage King. He was definitely a Sage King. Even if he was weakened, he wasn't someone an ordinary sage could compare to. So hope returned to their eyes. In front of them, Patriarch Shadowless was trembling with anger, and his eyes shone with a terrifying gray light. The death chi on him was even more overwhelming. He didn't expect to be suppressed by a young man. Damn it, your physique, your sword chi. Everything you have is mine. Patriarch Shadowless roared crazily. He realized that his opponent's physique was definitely strong. It was very likely to be one of the strongest physiques in the universe. If he could get his hands on such a physique, he could completely revive within 100 years. At that time, he would be a true Sage King. Moreover, with this physique, he had a high chance of becoming a great sage. Shadowless old ancestor was trying to kill Yifutian. His body was wrapped in terrifying death Dao patterns. The entire sky was shaking. This time, he was really angry. This power was even more terrifying than before. Kid, don't hold back. Just attack. It'll remind you of his secret techniques and weaknesses. Heishan transmitted his voice. This battle was unusual, so he didn't hold back. After all, this wasn't a young genius, nor an ordinary elder. This was a peerless expert who'd died tens of thousands of years ago. This was a Sage King. So he had to keep reminding him. Lin Xian nodded. The sword chi on him became even more terrifying. In an instant, he turned into a river of 81 sword chi and slashed forward. Boom. 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 The sword chi and the death chi collided. The two exploded with endless energy. Everyone was frightened by this power. One had to admit that Patriarch Shadowless was very powerful. Although this was his weakened state, he was still much more terrifying than an ordinary level 2 sage. Brat hit him on the head. Black Mountain transmitted his voice. Lin Xian controlled the 81 nomological swords and attacked quickly with the power of the 5 elements. The battle was very intense. Shadowless Ancestor was even more shocked. To be honest, he realized that the other party was simply too terrifying. Especially that sword chi, it was extremely terrifying. Even with his means, he was almost injured. Especially now, his opponent was attacking the top of his head with all his strength. This made him feel as if he was facing a great enemy. The top of his head was one of his greatest weaknesses. How did the other party find out? Could it be that the other party wasn't a young man, but an old monster that had lived for countless years? Thinking of this, the patriarch roared madly. The death aura on his body covered the sky, forming 9 gates of death that circled between heaven and earth. That terrifying death chi made the experts of the Shadowless clan tremble. Brat, go to hell. The death's door opened, and 9 death's hands appeared. The poo blotted out the sky and smashed towards Lin Xian. Clang. Lin Xian brandished the Great Destruction Spear and slashed at the hands of death. The terrifying power shook everyone to the core. Many people's bodies were torn apart. What terrifying power! Lin Xian was also shocked. Under normal circumstances, even a level 2 saint would be blown apart by him. But now the hands of death weren't destroyed. As expected of a Saint King. Even if he had been dead for countless years, his power was still shocking. Buzz. Buzz. The Shadowless Ancestor and the 9 hands of death merged together. The terrifying death chi exploded once again. He was like a death god. His body was pitch black, and his fierce aura surged. Lin Xian used the Kuan-Peng movement technique to dodge quickly. At the same time, the Dragon Sword Soul and the Great Destruction Spear exploded, sending out sword chi that slashed at the hands of death. The combination of the two was terrifying. It was like 81 divine dragons that kept attacking. The hands of death exploded. First, one of them shattered. Then, like a chain reaction, 7 of them shattered in an instant. The shadowless ancestor was shocked. What kind of sword chi was this? It was too terrifying. Even the hands of death he summoned were broken. This young man's combat power was too heaven-defying. If I can get my hands on your body, then all of your combat power will be mine. The shadowless ancestor was too excited. He had never seen such a terrifying young man before. This was definitely a young great emperor. Thinking of this, he didn't continue to activate the doors of death. Instead, he formed a hand seal. His 2 black eyes turned into 2 balls of hellfire, and then suddenly enlarged and jumped. Not good. It's a soul attack. Hua Feiyu's face turned pale. If Lin Xian was possessed by their ancestral patriarch, it would be over. The shadowless family members cheered. Their ancestral patriarch was a saint king. His soul was terrifying. Kid, you're here. Seize the opportunity, He Shan said telepathically. Lin Xian also sneered. How dare you try to possess me? You're courting death. He wasn't afraid of being possessed the least. He Shan sent out a wave of demonic qi that surrounded Lin Xian to prevent others from sneaking up on him. Lin Xian stood in the sky and didn't resist at all. He let the 2 balls of black fire jump. The 2 balls of black fire jumped directly into his glabella and disappeared. The next moment, the shadowless ancestor laughed in his mind. Stupid brat, go to hell. The black fire in the sky grew bigger and bigger, trying to devour Lin Xian's soul. Buzz. The next moment, a dragon roared. Then a dragon-shaped sword rushed over and cut the black fire into pieces. A miserable cry sounded. Damn it. How is this possible? This is the great dragon sword. The shadowless ancestor roared crazily. He knew about the great dragon sword. It was a saint technique that was famous in the world in his time. He didn't expect Lin Xian to have the great dragon sword. No wonder Lin Xian's combat power was so strong. In an instant he escaped. As expected of a saint king, he was so decisive that he could escape from the great dragon sword. However, at this moment, a golden light appeared in Lin Xian's eyes. It was very deep and turned into 2 golden vortexes. They were aimed at the black fire. This is? The shadowless ancestor screamed crazily as if he had seen a ghost. At this moment, he was even more shocked than when he saw the great dragon sword. He was too familiar with this feeling. Why? Why do you have this thing? The shadowless ancestor fled crazily. Chapter 3463. However, his experience and secret technique allowed him to escape from the dragon-beating sword, but he couldn't escape from the 2 golden vortexes. The black flames were swallowed by the golden vortexes and disappeared. What? Where's their ancestor's soul? I can't sense it. Outside, the experts of the shadowless family all went crazy. What's going on? Could it be that their patriarch had been killed? This was too shocking. At this moment, they all collapsed. The body of the shadowless family leader, who was controlled by the shadowless family leader's soul, fell from the sky and turned into a dried corpse. Did they win? Hua Feiyu heaved a sigh of relief. However, in the next moment, her expression changed. The surrounding shadowless family members were all stunned. Even Lin Xian frowned. His expression became extremely solemn. In front of him, a roar came from the ancestral land. It sounded like a ferocious ghost that resounded through the 9 heavens and 10 earths. Then countless amounts of death chi appeared in the ancestral land and formed a world of death. This world of death instantly enveloped Lin Xian. The surrounding shadowless family members were all sent flying. They could only watch from afar, trembling. What's going on? Is their ancestor not dead? They were shocked and doubtful. Lin Xian snorted and turned his head. His golden eyes saw through everything and looked at the black coffin on the black altar. At this moment, Dao runes kept flashing on the black coffin. Boom. The lid of the coffin suddenly opened, and a figure sat up. The figure stood up. The aura on his body was so terrifying that the entire sky was collapsing. Kid, this is that guy's body. His corpse is here. Be careful. Black Mountain transmitted his voice. Lin Xian nodded. He didn't dare to be careless. It wasn't just a wisp of soul that was here. The other party's body was also there. Damn kid, it'll kill you. A cold voice came from the figure in front of him. Then dozens of blades of death rushed over. Each of them was condensed by the laws. It was very terrifying. Lin Xian used the Kuan Prung technique. He didn't resist it directly. He could feel the terror of these blades of death. However, the blades of death kept increasing in number. In the end, he had no choice but to fight back. With a clang, the great spear of destruction collided with it, causing his arm to go numb. What a strong power! It was much stronger than before. However, Lin Xian was taken aback. Just this bit of strength? That's all there is to it. He let out a cold harumph and charged forward, tearing through the death chi and arriving in front of the figure. At this distance, he could clearly see the figure sitting up. It was a person with disheveled hair. However, his body was not as withered as one would imagine, nor was it made of bones. Instead, it was a person, a very normal person. However, his body was covered with black Dao runes. It was very strange. At this moment, 2 balls of black flames danced in his eyes as he grabbed at Lin Xian with his huge hands. Lin Xian was startled. This was Shengguan King's corpse. It definitely couldn't be resisted. Therefore, he quickly dodged. Relying on the Kuan Prung technique, he circled around, occasionally releasing terrifying sword chi. An intense battle erupted. Suddenly, old ancestor Shadowless' huge hands appeared in an unbelievable place and grabbed Lin Xian. Not good. Lin Xian's heart raced. He couldn't resist the power of a sage king. He roared and resisted like a madman. Old ancestor Shadowless said, "Go to hell." The death chi on it was extremely thick. It wanted to tear Lin Xian apart. Lin Xian roared. The great dragon sword transformed into the shape of a dragon and rushed out. With a whoosh, it shattered the huge hands. Whoosh. Lin Xian was pushed far away, his face pale. In the distance, old ancestor Shadowless was roaring like a madman. What was going on? Black Mountain was also stunned. No, there was something wrong with that thing. What's wrong? Lin Xian asked. He was still in shock. That guy was a Sage King when he was alive. The Sage King's body was so strong that even if you had the great dragon sword spirit, you wouldn't be able to break it. But your sword just now broke his hand. There was something wrong. Hearing this, Lin Xian was also stunned. Yes, he was only a level 1 sage, and the Sage King was a level 8 sage. The difference between them was too great. The corpse of a Sage King was definitely terrifying. He had seen a living Sage King with his own eyes. He couldn't break that kind of body. But just now he used the great dragon sword spirit to cut off one of the opponent's hands. What was going on? Could it be that the opponent wasn't a Sage King? That was impossible. The opponent's soul was at the level of a Sage King, and the technique and mystique were very similar. However, it might not be his corpse. Not his corpse? What did that mean? Have you heard of reincarnation in someone else's body? Black Mountain's voice was serious. I thought it was related to reincarnation. But now it seems that it's not just reincarnation. It's also related to that place. That place? Where is that place? Lin Xian was even more surprised. However, Black Mountain didn't explain. Instead he said, "If I'm not wrong, this isn't the body of a Sage King. So you can attack without hesitation, but be careful of his mystique." On the other side, old ancestor Shadowless' expression was ferocious, and his face was miserable. His broken hand quickly healed again, and it was as good as new. He had completely stepped out of the black coffin. "Kid, I want you dead." Sword of Death. He waved his hand and suddenly, 36 black sword lights rushed out from his body. Each of them carried an extremely terrifying chi of death. They cut through the void and slashed toward Lin Xian. "Do you think I'm afraid of you?" Lin Xian stomped his foot and rushed over. He struck out a terrifying sword chi to collide with his opponent. At the same time, he kept approaching his opponent. As long as his opponent wasn't the body of a Sage King, he wasn't afraid. As expected, under his powerful physique, his sword chi was like a peerless immortal light. The two of them fought in close combat, causing explosions in all directions. The terrifying chi of death hit him with a loud clang. However, Lin Xian's sword chi also slashed his opponent's body. Old ancestor Shadowless was sent flying, and a large crack appeared on his body. Not only that, but the entire world of death was split open. The people of the Shadowless clan felt their scalps go numb. They saw the scene inside through the large crack. They saw their patriarch being split open by Lin Xian's sword again. They couldn't believe it at all. Their patriarch was a godlike existence in their hearts. He was their clan's greatest hope. But now such an existence had been split open multiple times by Lin Xian. Previously, it had been a split soul. Now that their patriarch's main body had come out, how could he not suppress Lin Xian? Chapter 3464. Patriarch Shadowless roared madly. His cracked body healed at an extremely fast speed. This scene shocked Lin Xian greatly. Although this physique was not that of a sage king, it was still very strange. Ordinary sages would find it difficult to heal after being split open by the dragon sword soul. However, his opponent had destroyed the dragon sword soul's aura so easily. It was really strange. The Shadowless clan all cheered when they saw this scene. This was great. The patriarch would definitely not be killed so easily. Our patriarch was a sage king. He would definitely not die. They were too excited. Hua Feiyu's expression was extremely serious. How could a sage king die so easily? He could be reborn with just a drop of blood. He wondered if Lin Xian could completely kill their patriarch. If he could not, there would be endless trouble. Dragon Sword, Nine-Yang Divine Body, I really underestimated you. I didn't expect you to have so many treasures. No wonder you could force me to this point. Speaking of this, the two balls of black fire in his eyes jumped with incomparable greed. He had to get such a physique and such a divine ability. You are very strong, but it is a pity. You are too young. You have no idea how strong a sage king is. Now, I will let you see. Patriarch Shadowless sneered. His palms formed a seal, and his body flickered and instantly disappeared. He disappeared. Lin Xian frowned. He looked around and stood there with a serious expression. In the distance, the Shadowless clan were also stunned. They could no longer sense their patriarch. Suddenly an elder exclaimed, "The Shadowless Greater Shift." This was a peerless divine ability. Many people cried out in surprise. This divine ability could not be cultivated by ordinary sages. It was an extremely core divine ability of their clan. In the hands of their patriarch, it was a piece of cake. The Shadowless Greater Shift was no different from a spatial divine ability. After merging into the void, one would not be able to find it. This was the strongest assassination technique. Buzz. At this moment, an arm appeared in front of Lin Xian. It held a death scythe and directly slashed at Lin Xian. Lin Xian was sent flying. Spitting out a mouthful of blood. His face was pale, and his body was trembling. With a turn of his hand, he slashed forward with his sword. However, the death scythe in his hand disappeared in an instant, and he only managed to split open a large spatial rift. This is great. In the distance, the Shadowless family's people cheered. Shadowless Great Shift. That brat was dead for sure. He can't hurt our ancestor at all. Shadowless Greater Teleportation. Lin Xian frowned and wiped the blood from the corner of his mouth. Heishan transmitted his voice and asked, "Brat, how was it? Would he be able to hold on?" "Don't worry, it won't affect me." Lin Xian activated his heavenly fortune god eyes. The golden vortex in his eyes grew colder. Suddenly he thought of something and fiercely threw a punch to the left. With a clang, a death scythe was struck out. A figure also appeared, but it disappeared again in an instant. What? Blocked? How could this be? The powerhouses of the Shadowless family were all stunned. That was Shadowless Greater Teleportation. Even a sage king might not be able to detect it. What was going on with that brat? How could he detect their ancestors' attack? He must have been lucky to have hit the target with a random punch. Someone explained. The others nodded. They felt that this was the most reasonable situation. However, they were all stunned next. Another attack came from behind, but Lin Xian blocked it. The collision between the Spear of Great Destruction and the Death Scythe sent countless sparks flying. The world in all directions was shattering. Lin Xian was pushed back, but he was not injured. He blocked it again. What was going on? The Shadowless family's people were going crazy. Even the Shadowless family's ancestor frowned. He saw Lin Xian's eyes and his face darkened. Damn it, those eyes. It's those eyes. With a roar, his entire body turned into a stream of light, and the death scythe in his hand turned into a world of death. Shadow kill. The terrifying death scythe didn't attack Lin Xian. Instead, it attacked the shadow under Lin Xian's feet. Lin Xian was stunned. The next moment his body trembled, and he revealed a look of shock. His shadow was slashed, and his body was also injured. Damn it, he quickly dodged. He actually had such a move. As expected of a Sage King's attack. It was unexpected. Brat, you can't escape. Although you have the 9-yang divine body and your physique is shocking, where is your shadow? It's just an ordinary shadow. I can attack it at will. Therefore, you will definitely die. Next, the death scythe kept attacking Lin Xian's shadow. Lin Xian could only use the Kuan Prung technique to move in the sky. He frowned. Damn it, he couldn't be so passive. He had to counterattack. Although the attack just now had injured him greatly, he could still withstand it. Therefore, even if he was hit again, he would be fine. He didn't believe that the other party had an immortal body. The other party must have paid a price to revive from a dead person. Therefore, he decided to fight it out with the other party. Buzz. Lin Xian's body changed. Like a true dragon, he swam in the sky. Instead of running away, he attacked directly. His golden eyes locked onto a target. The Great Destruction Spear in his hand danced continuously. What? Are you going to fight it out with me? You're courting death. Old Ancestor's shadowless body moved strangely, but one of his hands stopped in another direction. He was still attacking Lin Xian's shadow. This scene was extremely strange. Lin Xian's shadow was injured. However, he gritted his teeth and roared. The Great Destruction Spear danced and charged at the escaping figure. With a squelch, it pierced through the other party's shoulder. Old Ancestor Shadowless didn't care at first, but after being pierced, he immediately rolled and screamed. Half of his body had been shattered. Even the head was slightly shattered by the impact. However, the strange thing was that there was no blood dripping. There was only endless black qi. This scene was extremely strange. Lin Xian frowned. This body was too strange. He Shan said, "Kid, look at his broken head, there seems to be something there." Lin Xian activated his heavenly secret divine eyes to the extreme and looked carefully. He saw it. It was a pearl. However, he only saw a part of it. The Dao runes on it were too complicated. The aura on it was extremely strange. It made Lin Xian's hair stand on end. Suddenly, he felt that the pearl seemed to be related to his heavenly secret divine eyes. His heavenly secret divine eyes jumped and shone with golden light. A black pearl. He sent the image he saw to He Shan. After He Shan saw it, he gasped. Could it be the legendary reincarnation pearl? Chapter 3465. What is the reincarnation pearl? Lin Xian asked. Black Mountain said. I don't have time to explain. Hurry up and attack the reincarnation pearl. If you shatter it, he'll definitely die. Since he had found his target, Lin Xian didn't stop attacking. On the other side, Patriarch's shadowless body recovered in an instant. He laughed loudly. Am undying. You can't kill me at all. Even if you have the dragon sword soul, you can't kill me. Indeed, his body was as good as new. Even his aura was at its peak. Really? Are you sure you're undying? What if you don't have the reincarnation pearl? What? Patriarch Shadowless was stunned. He screamed like crazy. His face was filled with fear. Damn it, how did you know? He was crazy. His biggest secret had been discovered by the other party. The reason why he had been able to survive until now was all because of the reincarnation pearl in his body. But it was his biggest secret. Others didn't know at all. Even if they saw it, they definitely wouldn't recognize it because of the broken pearl on his body. But Lin Xian had recognized it at a glance and said it out loud. He was terrified. Damn it, get out of my way. He had gone crazy. He wanted to escape. He paused and rushed toward the black coffin in the distance, wanting to escape. You can't escape. Lin Xian rushed forward. He used the dragon sword soul. A dragon shadow appeared on the Great Destruction Spear. Its terrifying aura surged into the sky. Boom, 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 boom. Strike after strike, Patriarch Shadowless only wanted to escape, so he didn't fight back at all. His broken body healed again, but Lin Xian's attacks were too strong. After thousands of times, his recovery speed slowed down. In the end, it took a long time for him to heal. At this moment, he had arrived near the black coffin. This made him heave a sigh of relief. It seemed that he could only escape and find another place to recuperate. But how could Lin Xian let him escape? He formed a seal with his hands. A pair of golden eyes appeared in the sky with terrifying light. They looked down on the world like the eyes of a god. Patriarch Shadowless was so scared that his scalp went numb. The eyes were too terrifying. No, damn it. His expression was extremely ugly. Under such gazes he was like an ant, causing him to scream like a madman. Everyone from the Shadowless clan heard it. Kill. Kill him for me. In the distance, the people of the Shadowless clan were all stunned. How could they not listen to their ancestors' orders? Immediately, someone rushed over. These were all sages. They merged into the void and brought with them powerful killing techniques as they attacked quickly. These were the elites of the Shadowless clan. They could easily kill saints of the same level. At this moment, they attacked together and surrounded Lin Xian. Humph! Acting recklessly, Lin Xian directly opened the dragon sword sacred domain. A world enveloped these experts. Inside, sword energy weaved unhindered in all directions. Those people cried out miserably one after another, hacked apart by sword energy. Then even their blood was wiped out. Roar! The roar shook the entire Shadowless clan. Heishan's expression changed. This old fogey broke the things I set up. Most likely some supreme elders and living fossils would show up. As soon as he finished speaking, a figure appeared behind Lin Xian. The light in the figure's hand was too terrifying. It was like a heavenly blade that slashed over. Lin Xian threw a punch with the back of his hand. His fist was like a true dragon, completely exploding. With a bang, the two collided. Lin Xian's arm was sent flying, while the figure retreated. However, to Lin Xian's surprise, the other party's body did not split apart. This meant that it was a supreme elder. Fortunately, this old fogey seemed to be afraid of your eye technique, so that roar just now only released a portion of them. There are about 3 or 4 supreme elders. You should be able to deal with them. You can deal with them. You're too unreliable. Hurry up and think of a way. You can't let the others wake up, Lin Xian said with a frown. At the same time, he charged out. Indeed, this time, for supreme elders were resurrected. They attacked crazily. Not only that, the other powerhouses of the Shadowless clan also formed formations. One killing formation after another pierced through the 9 heavens. The 4 supreme elders also formed the killing formation of the 4 divisions. It was an extremely terrifying formation. In addition to the strength of the 4 supreme elders, the combined killing intent pierced through the 9 heavens and 10 lands. The terrifying killing intent was unimaginable. In an instant, Lin Xian was enveloped by the killing formation. He felt great danger. Humph! He snorted coldly. On one hand, he activated the heavenly secret divine eye to firmly lock onto the Shadowless ancestor. At the same time he roared. The spear of destruction in his hand shot into the sky, turning into a dragon-shaped sword chi. The terrifying power caused the entire world to tremble. The sword chi collided with the killing formation. Boom boom boom. Lin Xian was hit. Many cracks appeared on his body and golden blood flowed out. However, the other party was more seriously injured. Under the powerful sword chi, the killing formation of the 4 divisions kept trembling. The rebounding force caused the bodies of the 4 supreme elders to split into pieces. Ah! They roared and reassembled their bodies. However, they were destroyed 7 times in a row. They were seriously injured. Killing formation of the 4 divisions change. The 4 supreme elders roared at the same time. At this moment, they all burned their bloodline. It was obvious that they had to kill the enemy in front of them for the sake of their ancestor. At this moment, everyone's hearts were beating wildly. The aura of the killing formation of the 4 divisions was too terrifying. Everyone in the 9 heavens and 10 lands was trembling. Lin Xian also felt a great sense of crisis. His eyes turned icy cold. If you want to die, oh, fulfill your wish. He took out the great sage pagoda, held it, and threw it forward. He had already put away the Great Sage Pagoda. Although he couldn't use the Great Sage Pagoda, its terrifying power was still there. However, using the Great Sage Pagoda as a weapon was no problem for him. The Great Sage Pagoda was like a giant mountain in his hand. He swept it in all directions. That was the Great Sage weapon. That might was truly incomparably frightening. Merely by relying on its pure power, it was not something that any killing formation could contend against. One attack. The killing formation of the 4 divisions was shattered into pieces. The 4 Supreme Elders were turned into meat paste. The second attack. The third attack. Lin Xian swept across all directions. Countless members of the Shadowless clan were affected and turned into a bloody mist. They were completely wiped out. The remaining ones fled into the distance, trembling. It was too terrifying. He almost overturned the entire Shadowless clan with his strength alone. Perhaps Lin Wudi was the only one who could do this. Boom boom boom. Damn it, the weapon in his hand is a sacred weapon. It's too terrifying. Run. The 4 Supreme Elders roared. However, they did not run away. They only let the ordinary disciples escape, and the 4 of them attacked again. They were determined to save their ancestor even at the cost of their lives. Please support us. Chapter 3466. Lin Xian scoffed. He pulled out the Great Sage Tower and threw it at the 4 Grand Elders. Suppress them. The Grand Sage Tower was filled with an incomparably majestic aura. It was so majestic that it directly pressed the 4 Grand Elders to the ground. The 4 Grand Elders' bodies were shattered, healed, and shattered again. Just like that. They were completely suppressed. Lin Xian scoffed. He turned to look at Shadowless Ancestor, but he frowned the next moment. They must be tired of living. He realized that the people who had run away were charging at him again. Their expressions were ferocious. What was going on? Were they not afraid of death? Even the Grand Elders had been suppressed by him. These people from the Shadowless clan were no match for him. Kid, something's wrong. Look, the little girl you subdued is coming too. This is an illusion. Shadowless Ancestor had used an illusion in the market. He had controlled the entire Shadowless clan. Lin Xian glanced at Shadowless Ancestor and saw black flames dancing in his eye sockets. The people around him also seemed to have a black aura around them. They were indeed being controlled. Since he wanted to bury his entire clan, Yi Futian would fulfill his wish. Lin Xian's expression was cold. He waved his hand and sent out a 5 elemental law. It wrapped around Hua Feiyu and pushed her out. Hua Feiyu's body trembled. Her body recovered and she looked terrified. She did not know why she had gone completely crazy and wanted to charge at Yi Futian. Now she knew that it was Lin Xian who had saved her life. She knelt on the ground respectfully and prostrated herself in the distance. The people around her were not so lucky. They charged at Yi Futian like wild beasts. Do you want to die? Oh, fulfill your wish. Lin Xian waved the great destruction spear in his hand and sent out countless sword qi that swept in all directions. These people were all cut into pieces. Blood splattered everywhere. The entire Shadowless clan was filled with corpses and blood. No. The 4 Grand Elders were suppressed on the ground, but they did not die immediately. When they saw this scene, they went crazy. Their hearts were about to shatter. The elites of their Shadowless clan were about to fall at this moment. These people could not block the sword qi at all. In an instant, more than half of them were killed or injured. In the end, those people all fell, and only the 4 of them were left alive. Of course, there was also Patriarch Shadowless. They had all gone mad. Was it worth it to let so many elites fall for an old ancestor? Foolish fellow, your clansmen, your descendants are all dead because of you. Do you still want to resist? Lin Xian put his hands behind his back and looked at Patriarch Shadowless. Shadowless Ancestor looked extremely ferocious. Damn brat, who the hell are you? Why are you targeting me? As long as you tell me the secret of Jiang Wansheng's resurrection, I can consider sparing your life. Lin Xian said coldly. Don't even think about it. I won't tell anyone. At first, I thought you were sent by them. Now it seems that you're not with them. Since that's the case, I don't have any scruples. I will kill you completely no matter the cost. Patriarch Shadowless roared crazily, and the entire ancestral land shook violently. The ground cracked open, and a black formation spread out. The altar and the black coffin shone with a strange light. What's going on? What happened? Hua Feiyu turned pale with fright. The 4 grand elders were also terrified. What's this? It's the 8 demon god formation. This was the most terrifying formation of the Shadowless clan. It was built with the entire Shadowless clan as its foundation. It would not be used until the last moment. Once it was used, the ancestral land would be reduced to ashes. One could imagine how terrifying this formation was. The 4 supreme elders' eyes were filled with fear. They had never thought that their patriarch would actually go crazy. Boom, boom, boom. The 4 elders were pale. They knew that even if Lin Xian didn't kill them, they would still die. They wouldn't be able to survive. Patriarch Shadowless floated in the air, laughing wildly like the Grim Reaper. Kid, this is a competition between you and me. Once the 8 demon god formation is activated, nothing can stop it. You will die without a doubt. Now, go to hell for me. A terrifying voice rang out as 8 figures appeared around the spell formation. It was as if they had been summoned from the depths of hell. The 8 figures were terrifying. They were the essence of the 8 demon god formation. The 8 demon gods could destroy the world. Moreover, the 8 demon god formation had been nurtured by the clan for countless years. It could be said to be terrifying to the extreme. No. The 4 prime elders screamed miserably, and one of them exploded into a bloody mist. The others exploded one after another. They wanted to scream and run, but in the end, they were destroyed by the killing formation. Once the demon god formation was activated, it would kill everyone, regardless of friend or foe. Lin Xian's expression became serious. How ruthless this old madman was. Black Mountain, do you have a solution? Lin Xian asked. Motherfucker, how dare he activate the 8 demonic gods formation? But so what? He was only a sage king when he was alive. I was the great sage when I was alive. This time, I will definitely kill him. Black Mountain was also angry. He said, I have heard of the 8 demon god formation, and I have never set it up before. So I definitely know the flaw of the 8 demon god formation. Do as I say, and you can definitely break the formation. Good. Lin Xian nodded. His eyes were shining. Black Mountain said, the 8 demon god formation mainly relied on the 8 demon god phantoms. To kill the demon god phantoms, the order could not be wrong. Otherwise, the 8 demon gods would resurrect infinitely. They could not be killed at all. In the end, the trapped person would be refined alive. So the order could not be wrong. Kill the 4th demon god first. I know. Lin Xian found the 4th demon god phantoms in an instant. The great destruction spear in his hand was like a black mountain, slashing down from the sky. Kill. The 4th demon god phantoms roared crazily. Murderous aura soared into the sky like a real demon god. At the same time, the other 7 demon phantoms also moved. This was a fatal blow. Lin Xian used the Kuan-Peng movement technique and dodged quickly. His target was only the 4th demon god phantoms. Boom, boom, boom. He passed through everything and arrived in front of the 4th demon god phantoms. His attack directly caused the sky to collapse. The 4th demon god phantoms was forced back. He opened his mouth and spat out a demonic sound wave. Countless demonic chi in the sky turned into a pitch-black rain of swords, piercing through the void and piercing towards Lin Xian. Die. Lin Xian snorted coldly and split the rain of swords with his sword. Not only that, the 4th demon god phantoms was split in half. Lin Xian roared to the sky like a peerless god of war. Who was next? The 7th demon god phantoms. Black Mountain transmitted his voice. Lin Xian chased after the 7th demon god phantoms like a dragon. Soon the 7th demon god phantoms was also killed by him. Next, it was the 3rd demon god phantoms. Old Ancestor Shadowless was very calm at first, thinking that the other party would definitely die. But gradually his expression changed. Chapter 3467. In the end he screamed like crazy. How was this possible? Previously, when the other party killed the 4th demonic shadow, he thought it was just a coincidence. But then, the other party killed the seventh and third demonic shadows. He felt that something was wrong. This was the correct order to break the formation. How could the other party break it? How was this possible? This was an extremely ancient formation. He dared to guarantee that no one else knew about it except for him. Who was the other party? How did he know about such an ancient formation? Could it be that he was also an extremely ancient monster? Had he been revived in some way? He didn't dare to imagine. Just as he was stunned, the last demonic shadow also screamed miserably. Lin Xian directly pierced through it and nailed it to death in the void. Light bloomed. Kid, are your eyes okay? Haishan's voice was urgent. Lin Xian felt for a while and found nothing unusual. Other than a bit of swelling pain and heat, there was nothing else. He could still use his eye technique to see very far away. Lin Xian felt for a while. Indeed, his eyes did hurt a little, but it didn't matter. It was like a normal fire. This kind of pain was negligible to him. Your eyes are too strange. Brat, where did you get those eyes from? I got them by chance. They're called the Heavenly Secret Divine Eyes. I got them from someone from the Heavenly Secret race. What? Heavenly Secret Divine Eyes. Heavenly Secret race. Heishan sucked in a breath of cold air. I understand. No wonder you can absorb the Yama fire. What was going on? Could it be that the Heavenly Secret race had something to do with the Yama fire? Lin Xian frowned even more. These should be ancient or even ancient secrets that had long been lost. The other sages didn't know. It was even more impossible for him to know. Heishan said, Kid, I've heard of this matter. The Heavenly Secret race was an extremely terrifying race. Their origins were mysterious, and they were not inferior to the dragons, Qilin race, and other top races of the 10,000 ancient races. In fact, they were even more terrifying. The people of the Heavenly Secret race all had a bloodline, and that was eye technique. However, their eyes were very special. They could only be activated and stimulated under certain circumstances. Once activated, the power of the eye technique was unparalleled. Not only that, their eye technique would be more powerful the more they used it. In the end, it could even evolve. It was rumored that the Heavenly Secret ancestor had a pair of reincarnation eyes. As far as the eye could see, the 6 paths of reincarnation could allow one to live or die. It was truly incomparably terrifying. Chapter 3468. What, the Rinnegan? Lin Xian was shocked. So powerful. Could it be that the Tianji ancestor was also a great emperor? I don't know if the Tianji tribe has a great emperor. However, the first Tianji ancestor was said to be an immortal. What? Immortal? Lin Xian was even more shocked. Immortal? Wasn't that something that countless people dreamed of? Even great emperors desired it. However, whether there were immortals in this world was still a mystery, because no one had seen it before. In the end, even great emperors could feel despair. Now the first Tianji tribe ancestor was actually an immortal. Then wouldn't his Rinnegan be the immortal eye? These were all legends. No one knew whether there were immortals or not. However, this was enough to show that the Tianji tribe was extraordinary. Even if the Tianji ancestor wasn't an immortal, he wouldn't be any weaker than a great emperor. As for the reincarnation sword, it was said that one of the first Tianji ancestors' eyes turned into a divine sword. It was very terrifying. This reincarnation pearl is related to reincarnation. Perhaps it is related to the reincarnation sword or the Rinnegan. And you have the Tianji divine eyes. That's why there is such a connection. So that's how it is. Lin Xian's eyes flashed. He didn't expect his Tianji divine eyes to have such a background. He already had the great dragon sword soul of the 5 swords of the world. And the reincarnation sword was also related to him. There was also the heavenly punishment sword, which was related to the Sikong family. He had the great sage Saikong's great sage pagoda in his hands. He had to admit that it was really strange. If you put it that way, those Yama flames should have been absorbed by the Tianji divine eyes. He didn't know if he could use it. Lin Xian's eyes flashed. He tried to communicate with it. The golden runes in his eyes slowly rotated. Suddenly, a trace of black flame flowed out. Whoosh! The moment the black flame appeared, it instantly burned the void in front of it into nothingness. So powerful. Lin Xian was shocked. He didn't dare to use it too much. Although he had the Tianji divine eyes, the Yama flames were too terrifying. After using it for a while, he felt a slight pain in his eyes. It seemed that he could only use it as a sure kill skill. Lin Xian felt that this Yama fire could burn a third heaven sage to death. This gave him another powerful trump card. Pei Shan also said, "Kid, make good use of your heavenly secret divine eyes. If you can use more Yama flame, you can even burn a true saint king to death, let alone a third heaven saint." Lin Xian was overjoyed when he heard this. However, he knew that the current him did not have the strength to do so. This was because if he did not control the Yama's fire properly, he would end up burning himself. But no matter what, he finally had another trump card. It seemed that coming to the Grand Spill planet this time had been the right choice. Not only did he meet Gu Santong, but he also learned about the secrets of the heavenly secret god eyes and the reincarnation sword. Now he even obtained the Yama's fire. However, Lin Xian still narrowed his eyes. Who was it that had given Shadowless the reincarnation orb and brought him back to life? This was still unclear at the moment. Pei Shan shook his head. Although he had an idea, it was too shocking and he was not sure, so he did not tell Lin Xian. "Young master, are you all right?" At this moment, Hua Feiyu flew over quickly from afar. Her face was still incomparably pale. Lin Xian shook his head and said, "I'm fine." His gaze swept past Hua Feiyu and looked at the surroundings. There were still people from the Shadowless clan around. They had all rushed over from outside the clan. Basically, the elites in the core area had all been killed by him. Although the Shadowless clan had not been completely destroyed, they had suffered a great loss. When Lin Xian's gaze swept past them, the people of the Shadowless clan trembled, and their faces were filled with fear. You killed our experts." They saw the mountains of corpses and seas of blood around them, and went crazy. "Young master, what should we do with these people?" Hua Feiyu asked respectfully. Lin Xian's eyes flashed. He said, "I don't have too much energy to care about the Shadowless clan. However, it's a pity to just throw it away. How about this? I'll leave it to you. From now on, you'll be the new leader of the Shadowless clan." It was the young master. Hua Feiyu knelt respectfully on the ground. "Don't worry, young master. I'll run the Shadowless clan well. As long as the young master says the word, I'll do anything. Alright, get up. Next, you'll take over the clan's affairs." Lin Xian was ready to leave. It was a good choice to leave the Shadowless clan to Hua Feiyu. If Hua Feiyu dared to betray him, he could guarantee that Hua Feiyu's fate would be worse than those who had died. Moreover, he believed that with Hua Feiyu's intelligence and what had happened today, Hua Feiyu would never betray him. This way, he would be in control of a clan. Although he might not be able to make the clan do anything, the Shadowless clan's strength alone was enough. Although they had suffered a great loss, they still had a lot of resources in their hands. They could send cultivation resources to Lin Xian regularly. When one reached the Sage Realm, the resources needed would be even more and more precious. Therefore, there would only be benefits and no disadvantages for him to take over a clan. He gave Hua Feiyu a transmission array that could be used to transmit resources. If there was danger, Hua Feiyu could also use this transmission array to call for help. After that, Lin Xian left. He returned to the Gu family. Gu Santong and the others had been waiting anxiously for a long time. To be honest, Lin Xian had been gone for so long that they were very worried. However, when they saw that Lin Xian had returned, they all heaved a sigh of relief. Gu Santong rushed over. "Brother Lin, are you all right? Don't worry, the matter has been resolved. Don't worry, the Shadowless clan will not dare to trouble you anymore." Although Lin Xian's voice wasn't loud, it was like a sudden clap of thunder in everyone's ears. The matter had been resolved? They could not believe it. One had to know that the Shadowless clan was like a mountain in front of them. They could not breathe under the pressure. But now, Lin Xian had resolved it so easily? Just what level had the other party's strength reached? Was he really unfathomable? After that, Lin Xian did not leave immediately. Instead, he asked for a secret room from Gu Santong, and began to cultivate in seclusion. He had just obtained a new flame, Yama's flame. He wanted to study it and master it as soon as possible. Just like that, Lin Xian went into seclusion. However, the storm did not stop. Such a huge matter had happened to the Shadowless clan. The entire core area was basically shattered. Such a huge commotion could not be hidden. Therefore, the news quickly spread. In an instant, the entire Great Yin planet was shocked. The Shadowless clan had suffered a great loss. The core area and elite powerhouses had been killed. Such a huge matter was like a gust of wind that swept through every corner in an instant. Everyone was going crazy. They could not believe it. The Shadowless clan was one of the top clans. In this world, they were an overlord-level existence. How could such a clan be injured? Could it be that the other top clans had joined forces? Chapter 3469. For a time, countless large families and forces went to investigate. They had to figure out what had happened to the Shadowless family. Who knew what was going on? What was the situation now? The Gu family naturally sent out martial artists. When they learned of this news, they immediately sucked in a breath of cold air. Could it be that this matter was related to Lin Xian? Their first thought was that this was impossible. Although Lin Xian was strong, he was only one person. The Shadowless family was a huge family with countless experts. There were many saints. How could they be beaten to such a state by a young man? But besides Lin Xian, who else had contact with the Shadowless family? And in such a short period of time? They didn't know. Although the Shadowless family tried their best to conceal it, too many saints and experts had died. They couldn't hide it from the investigation of so many large families and forces. So soon, the situation of the Shadowless family was figured out by those people. For a time, the wind and clouds surged. Tianhe family. It was also one of the large families of the Great Spill planet. At this moment, in a great hall of the Tianhe family, the patriarch, elders, and many powerhouses were gathered together. Their eyes were filled with excitement and excitement. You should already know about the Shadowless family, Patriarch Tianhe said in a deep voice. Inside the hall, everyone was grinning from ear to ear. They knew, of course they knew. For some unknown reason, the Shadowless family had suffered heavy losses and their vitality had been greatly damaged. Patriarch, this is a good opportunity for us to make a move. That's right, Patriarch. We have always been suppressed by the Shadowless family. Now we finally have a chance to make a move. We can directly trample the Shadowless family to the ground. This way, we can become the top family. From then on, our Tianhe family will become one of the overlords of the Great Spill planet. The more everyone spoke, the more excited they became. Their eyes turned red. Patriarch Tianhe was calm. He said, although this is a good opportunity, we can't be too careless. After all, it wasn't just our family that was eyeing the Shadowless family. In the entire Great Spill planet, there were 3 top overlords. Besides the Shadowless family, there was also the Flowing Fire Palace and Devouring Sky Hall. In addition, there were 5 first-rate forces like our Tianhe family. As for the clans below them, there was nothing to be afraid of. They couldn't benefit from this storm at all. And even if they did, it would be very little. Most importantly, the other 4 great clans and 2 other overlords. The other 4 families must be like us, wanting to take over the Shadowless clan and become the new overlord. But don't forget, the other 2 overlords are also eyeing the Shadowless clan. They also want to strengthen themselves. Therefore, don't act rashly. While the Tianhe clan was discussing their next course of action, the other 4 first-rate clans were also having an intense discussion. At the same time, the 2 overlord forces were also moving in the dark. The people of the Shadowless family were extremely nervous. Before they could recover from the shock of losing their clan's vitality, many other people appeared around them. There were even conflicts erupting. For a moment, their situation became more and more dangerous. Patriarch, what should we do? The people of the Shadowless clan all looked at Hua Feiyu. At this moment, Hua Feiyu was their new patriarch, and she had the highest cultivation among them. This was because the other saints and elders had all been killed, either by Lin Xian or by the Shadowless ancestors' 8 demon god formation. It could be said that they were indeed much weaker now. Even weaker than the Gu family. Of course, a starving camel was still bigger than a horse. The Shadowless clan still had some resources. Other than some dormant living fossils, they still had some formations and forbidden weapons that they hadn't used yet. At this moment, Hua Feiyu sat in the highest position, her expression extremely cold. She didn't expect this. She had just become the patriarch, and now she was facing such a situation. Now she had 3 choices in front of her. The first was to give up resistance and let the other clans take over the Shadowless clan. She would never agree to this even if she were to die. In that case, there was only one other option left, and that was to resist. However, with their current strength, they couldn't resist at all. The other experts, the other 2 overlords, were not any weaker than them. If they were at their peak, they could still resist. Now that their vitality was greatly damaged, they couldn't resist at all. Don't forget, there were still some first-rate clans eyeing them covetously. If they wanted to resist, there were 2 options. The first was to fully recover their resources and awaken all the dormant living fossils. This way, their current strength would be greatly improved. However, after they were awakened, she wouldn't be able to explain what had happened before. She, Hua Feiyu, might be captured by these living fossils and tortured. Therefore, she only had one choice left, and that was to ask for help. She asked for help from Lin Xian. Lin Xian had just supported her to become the patriarch of Hua Feiyu, so he wouldn't sit by and do nothing. However, she wasn't 100% sure. After all, this time, they weren't facing just one clan. They were probably the top forces in the entire Great Yin planet. Compared to these clans and sects, the Shadowless clan was much stronger. Would Lin Xian care? It was really an unknown. The atmosphere on the Great Yin planet was extremely strange. Basically, everyone knew that a great change had happened to the Shadowless clan. Their strength had been greatly damaged, and there would probably be a fight next. Those weaker clans and sects, although they couldn't make a move, they weren't idle either. First, they all moved to investigate the news. Moreover, many people were ready to watch a big show. Maybe if they were lucky, they could even reap the benefits. Heavens, what happened to the Shadowless clan? They actually suffered such heavy losses. Could it be that someone made a move against them? Impossible. If it was a battle between top overlords, it would definitely alarm everyone. We didn't receive any news before, so it should be a sudden blow. Could it be that some peerless powerhouse made a move and swept away the Shadowless clan? It couldn't be. The Shadowless clan was an overlord existence. What kind of person could sweep them away? Could it be one of those legendary existences? Everyone was discussing, guessing what the reason was. At the same time, the Tianhe clan and other first-rate clans couldn't help but begin to probe. A great war broke out in the Shadowless clan. Even the first-rate clans began to fight for territory. The flames of war were burning. Everyone's blood was boiling. They knew that this battle wouldn't end so easily. However, to their surprise, after only a few days, the battle stopped. Because the other 2 overlords had made a move. There were a total of 3 overlords on the Great Yin planet. The Shadowless clan was originally one of them, but now their vitality was greatly damaged. Therefore, the other 2 overlords reigned supreme. You're tuning in to the Li Mei's Wuxia Whispers YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.